Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to 42, the latest and greatest club from the restaurant at the end of the universe, where we have, as always, our good friend Ryan. Ryan, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Did you know there's 492 billionaires in this world, and not one of them is Batman? Well, not yet anyway.
There's no telling.
If you were a billionaire, would you try to be some vigilante Batman-like character?
It's too hard. I'm too old.
I'm too old.
I mean, he was, what, studying martial arts and all that stuff his entire life to be that good.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
You know, and plus I just don't have the motivation.
Right? Like when he comes back from, when he got his back broke, like when he finally gets out of rehab or whatever, he can run a 4-minute mile still. Mm-hmm. It's like, damn, go Batman.
And before I forget, I would like to thank I Fight Dragons for letting us use their song for our intro.
Hell yeah. Thank you, I Fight Dragons.
Yes, some wonderful nerd rock. It's really like pop punk meets like synth nerd rock. It's really fun if you haven't listened to it. Yeah, I really enjoy their stuff, and I'm happy that they agreed to let us use their stuff.
Yeah, you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours.
Yeah. To like the 3 people that actually listen to our podcast.
No, that's not true. I think our last one had 7 downloads.
Hey, well, not shockingly, the one with
porn in the title.
Porn in the title has like 4 times as many views than anything.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys.
Cheers.
So anyway, we're gonna have to I guess go ahead and rejoice. There's a few cool things that happened this week, right?
Okay.
So the FCC approves net neutrality rules.
Right, which
reclassifies broadband as a utility.
Right, which I'm cautiously optimistic about. Very cautiously optimistic.
Right, because we haven't read what they actually wrote down yet. Like, where are the loopholes and where do we get? Like, how do we get fucked in this deal? But
right, and I mean, it's the same. The same people are doing the NSA bullshit. So I mean,
yeah,
it's so if it's actually good, I like it, but I just worry that it's going to be one of those things that eventually go full on Atlas shrugged, and it's government. It's just a way for government to take it over. So I worry about that, but. Like I said, cautiously optimistic. I'll have a much better opinion once I actually see the ruling. And I mean, it's not going to be a thing for 4 or 5 years because it's going to be challenged in the courts forever. It'll go to the Supreme Court, which is the worst place in the entire fucking world for any tech case to go to. Yeah,
it's really weird that the Republicans have aligned themselves kind of against the internet, I guess, as a whole. There's no other better way to say it, really, but they're more for the.
I feel as though the net neutrality thing is the way they're doing it feels wrong to me, classifying as a utility, because there's so much government regulation and government taxes that come into that. I mean, if you look at your phone bill, I don't know if anyone still has a landline. Well, hell, even your cell bill, which is classified as a utility. There's tons of government taxes, so I think you're going to see a lot more of that.
Right, but what this really boils down to, like, for the everyday citizen, right? Mm-hmm. Is this breaks up the monopolies and allows companies access to the telephone poles. Right. Like, this is the biggest deal, is the access to the telephone poles. So now potentially Google can run out Google Fiber really easily. It was what was holding back Google Fiber is they didn't have access to the telephone poles.
Right. It's the last mile problem, which is the problem with almost all internet. It's last mile.
Right. So now that's what this boils down to. And that's, if I have to pay, I'm okay with paying an extra $50 a month or whatever in taxes if I can have my gigabit internet. Like, we need to catch up with the rest of the world.
Like I said, it's just one of those things where, like I said, I'm very cautiously optimistic. I like the idea.
Yeah.
I just when I need to see the product first before I'm like, yay, net neutrality, it's a good thing. Because I mean, as much as those guys in Washington fuck us over every year, I'm just like, yep, this is just going to be a play to censor. Like to me, this is just like, yep, they're going to qualify as a utility, and then they're going to go, well, it's this is inappropriate for a public utility, so we're shutting it down. That's what I'm worried about.
Like the porn hubs and stuff, like that kind of thing. They can just censor.
No. They won't do porn. Porn isn't to the political elite. Porn isn't offensive.
So it's like the
InfoWars or Drudge or
the Islamic State kind of stuff. Like
right, yeah.
They'll shut down Twitter accounts or something. That kind of idea.
That's what I.
Or maybe just Twitter in general. It's too easy to disseminate information on this website.
Right, and I worry about the impact of. Oh, I just lost my train of thought. I worry.
So you're thinking?
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask you. So you're kind of worried about the freedom of the internet.
Yes.
In a weird way.
Yes, I am very worried about that. I also, this is going to be, for as long as it's a thing, it's going to be a political issue every year, and I don't want to hear about it. It's going to be a major issue, and the moment that someone does anything, because someone will, some president, I don't know who, Republican, Democrat, really doesn't matter. Somebody's going to try to get a little too much power over the internet. It's just going to happen. It's the way humans react and the way they are. So, this actually needs to be a constitutional amendment, is what it needs to be, and not an FCC.
Like the internet should be a right?
Yes, like voting is a right, like right to bear arms.
Right to assembly. This should fall under the right of assembly or something.
Actually, I think that's a very good place for it to be, is the right to assemble.
Right. This is a virtual assembly.
But the thing is like those regulations are so easy to change, and so it comes down to like who's the FCC chairman, because the president can pretty much just kick that fucker out if he wants to, and it doesn't matter who the president is. And so it would be like when Roosevelt stacked the Supreme Court, and
it's not stacked right now.
But they and they just rubber stamped everything, and so I don't know. Like I said, I'm hopeful, but I don't know. I've seen them screw people over way too many times to think.
I don't trust anybody on the Hill. But I guess since we're just going to mark this down as one optimistically approval. It's like, yay,
I'm
kind
optimistic, but I'm scared.
Okay. So the other thing to celebrate is, I don't know, this doesn't matter much to you, but it does you pay attention to it. But Alaska and Washington, D.C., it's now legal.
Right. That's all.
Marijuana is now, and Alaska's working on recreational, being able to sell it and tax it, and the Colorado model, or maybe the Washington model. I'm not sure which one they're going to use. But Washington, D.C., it is not legal to sell or buy. But it is legal to gift. Much like sex.
Interesting.
Much like sex.
D.C., that whole entity that is D.C. is such a weird thing to me.
Yeah.
It's technically federal property. So technically, a speeding ticket in Washington, D.C. is a felony.
It doesn't go on your record like a felony, though, does
it? Like, it's a felony speeding ticket. Because it happens on federal land. Yeah, it's really weird. And, like, the way their budget works is really weird. And no state will have them. Like, they've been trying, D.C.'s been trying to become a part of Virginia for decades now, and Virginia's like, no, I'm not dealing with that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like if you ever get caught speeding on a military base, it's a felony.
You say felony like a felony, like you can't vote no more, like I'm a felon?
Yes.
Like I can't, what the fuck? That's crazy. I can't believe that. I can believe it, but That's just awesome, I guess. Or crazy.
Well, maybe not like that bad because certain films can't
extreme
vote, but
they can.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about these things.
Yeah, but sad things happen this week too.
Oh well, let's not talk about those yet then.
Mr.
What happened?
Died.
That's right. Yeah. Man, did you see the picture from the guy from the International Space Station?
Yeah.
Yeah, live long and prosper, right?
Live long and prosper.
He's on the International Space Station, and it's the picture of the Earth, and he's got his hand up, and he took a picture of his hand and then the Earth through the window, and that was out of all the pictures attributed to Leonard Nimoy or Spock. That's what we're talking about. Out of all of them, that was the one that I was like, oh, just got some. I was cutting onions or something earlier, or something. That one got me actually.
Right? Yeah. I was thinking about it after it happened. Is like nerd culture, especially, has been the culture of living legends. The people who made our culture great have been with us for the most part.
Right. What's that name? The guy, Marvel guy, Spike Lee or whatever his name is?
Stan Lee, still around.
Stan Lee, yeah, Spike Lee. What the fuck? That's the director.
That's the director.
I'm an idiot.
William Shatner, and up until this week, learning lots of the big names that made Harrison Ford, George Lucas, Mark Hamill. They're living legends, and it's interesting because we're getting to that age to where a lot of those people are going to start, leaving us, and it'll be interesting to see how the things react when the people who were there and did it aren't there to defend or to
when it's now story.
Give proper context to what actually happened, and it falls into the hands of historians and not the actual people.
Wow, that will be crazy. Like the first interracial kiss on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like it won't be William Shatner and what's her name talking about it. It'll be other people talking about what it meant.
Right, and
then it'll be interpreted and
there's no telling what it'll mean in 50 years.
Yeah, that's true. That's interesting. I know he was dying, and that dying's not the greatest thing in the world and all that. But somebody's so special, and to see all the tribute that he gets after he dies, isn't there a part of you that wishes like somebody that was handling his Twitter or his like estate would have been like, he died like a day before he did, just so you could get a little bit of that. You're like, oh wow, they really did love me, that because there's a part of me that's sad that he didn't get to see the tribute. It's like he kind of probably knew, but he didn't actually get to see it. It's like being at your own funeral. It's like, Leonard Nimoy is one of the few people that should have the privilege to be at his own funeral. It's like Shatner. You hope Shatner gets to be kind of at his own funeral. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because it's going to be a good one. Like, we're going to, he was famous before he died. And for an artist to be that famous before he dies, you almost usually, your legacy usually only gets better.
Right. Yeah. Me and my wife were talking about it, like what the Comic-Con after Stan Lee dies, like that's going to be.
Oh yeah.
That's basically going to be a 4-day funeral. Is basically what's going to be.
That will. Yeah.
And he's.
How old is he? He's getting there, right?
He's in his 90s.
All due respect, we love you, Stanley. But still, he's getting older, right?
That dude's awesome. The little I've seen about him.
Yeah. Is he cool?
Interacted with him, yeah. He's still like as spry as any 20-year-old, mentally as ever been. Like that dude is just
really.
Yeah, he is sharp.
No shit. Still has a sense of humor, kind of.
Oh yeah.
The guy. Huh?
And maybe it's because he does.
He uses it all the time, right?
He uses it all the time, He.
Mm-hmm. I like on the kid things.
Yeah,
Yeah, fuck that, kid things. Whatever.
Well, when he first started writing comics, they were kid things. But his idea was he was the Pixar before Pixar. He's like, no one can say no to a good story. If it's a good story, it'll sell. No matter if it's G-rated or R-rated, if it's a good story with characters you like, with real consequences, people are really gonna like the story. And
that's completely my belief on anime. It's like anime can be really, really good if the story and the characters and the stuff is compelling and you really want to watch it. Like, I don't know. I think some of the best stories ever told have been told through the anime, medium,
Oh
or
yeah.
the comic book style. Like, if you've never read Spawn, go back and
No, Spawn's amazing.
read the original Spawn series, the comic book. Oh my god, man, that one's. I saw that on Reddit recently. They were like, "Bring back Spawn," because they were talking about all these movies that are being remade. It's like, why can't we get a remake of Spawn?
Oh yeah, I actually
I'd be
really
like,
liked the
hell yeah.
Spawn movie. It was kind of terrible, but I still really like it.
I really liked the original Batman movies, but the new ones are still awesome as fuck, Like, so why can't we get a new awesome Spawn? Could you imagine with the new graphics and the new CGI and
Oh yeah.
the great acting and the directors that we have nowadays? We could get a fucking awesome Spawn
Yeah,
movie.
so I've been ripping my Blu-rays to my media center, and at Best Buy, I think it was, we picked up the first four Batmans, the two Tim Burtons, so Batman, Batman Returns, and then Batman Forever and Batman and Robin in like one Blu-ray pack for like $10. It was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So I sat down and rewatched Batman and Robin. It's still fucking terrible, but it's like it's one of those things that's so bad it's kind of funny. Like
It doesn't
so
quite make
bad.
it to so bad that it's funny. It's just kind of really shit. There's like a frequency. So it has to be like so bad. There's at a point where it's just bad. It's just bad. And then once it gets so bad that it gets funny and fun to watch, but then you can go past funny and fun to watch and just get bad again. And then you have to really push for that really funny. And if you can get to like that third valley of funny, now you're in like Roadhouse territory, where it's just really awesomely bad.
The
And
one thing I did notice about it is because it was really before CG. Like it was right before CG really started to come in to every movie. So
right.
everything was built. Like they were real sets, real props, and it just looked better. Like it looked better than it should for a movie that came out in like 2000 or whenever it came out.
Well,
That's
that could be the
something
Blu-ray upscaling too, though, right? Like they went back and
Well, no, but
remastered
you
it or something, or no?
No. Like even if you watch Blu-rays, like the early CG looks terrible now. Like I went back and watched Independence Day, and like some of the early, like some of that CG is terrible. I mean, it's so dodgy. But like the actual props, like the movies that are old enough to still have props and sound, and actual stages and
or miniatures
or minis, they will still look amazing. Like have you watched Indiana Jones on Blu-ray?
I don't want to admit this out loud, but I've never watched a Blu-ray.
Dude, you're missing out.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not me.
You're missing out.
I went straight from DVDs to digital. Skipped the whole Blu-ray thing.
Okay.
Because it took them so long to fucking decide on the HD Blu-ray fucking bullshit, and I was on HD DVD side, and when they didn't win, I was disappointed. So
have you ever watched it in 1080p?
No.
Okay, it's one of the most beautiful, especially the Last Crusade. One with Sean Connery. It is gorgeous. It is one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, especially, but everything is real. It was old. It's an old enough movie that everything had to be real. If people were flying, they were on white. It was real. It was real special effects. It wasn't digital special effects. And that translates so much better. And so there's a weird gap in like from like 98 to like I don't know, about 2008 to where CG and movies get really good. That like just look terrible on Blu-ray. They just absolutely look terrible.
Yeah, I heard Alien. Alien looks terrible. Because when it's upscaled so well, you can see the background, like the miniature space planes, the spaceships. And in the original movie, that's just a painting or whatever it is, and it's kind of blurry and no big deal. But when it run through the upscaling of an HD and they go in and like clean it all up and remaster it, it's so clean that it just looks like a painting. Like it doesn't look, it's just like you can see that it's a painting. There was something enjoyable about the graininess of it. It kind of helped with the movie itself.
Get away with more, yeah.
Right, the movie felt more gritty because of it.
Right, that's something. My first year at Comic-Con, we went to the Star Trek Blu-ray restoration panel. So the people who like actually built like redid it, remastered, did everything, and they were telling us about how difficult it was to actually do it because like some of the shots in Next Generation were 7 or 8 layers of film deep. Like
what does that mean? I don't even know what that means.
Literally, like to create the effect and have the different layers of everything.
Oh, okay.
It was literally film strips stacked on top of each other.
So they might film a miniature scene doing something, and they might film another miniature scene, and then some other, like a blue screen on that, so the characters are acting inside of the miniatures, and so that you're 3 or 4 layers. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
And then maybe a video of an explosion, and then cut it all in.
Right. And they said the only thing they couldn't do, and they had to do with CG, was the planets.
Where?
Huh?
On what? On what are we talking about exactly? Next Generation?
Next Generation. Like, whenever you see, like, the Enterprise above a planet, like, that's the only thing they couldn't restore from the originals was the planets. And, like, I have it, and I should send you one of the ripped episodes, because it is gorgeous. It, like, because they
Star Trek Next Generation has been remade into, like, an HD version?
Yes.
I didn't know that. That's so exciting.
I have seasons 1 and 2 on Blu-ray. I think
it's beautiful. It must be beautiful, right?
Oh, and the thing is the like every like the the red we think of when we think of like Commander Red. It's the wrong shade.
It's too pink or something. It's more of a scarlet.
Yeah. Data's eyes look completely different. Like you can see like the technology that's supposed to be in his eyes. You can see it.
What?
Completely different color. Oh yeah.
That's that's
I will put one in. I will rip you an episode. Actually, I know exactly which episode I'm gonna rip you. And was The Big Goodbye, the first like one where they go to the holodeck?
Sure.
Yeah, I'll send you that one.
The Chicago one.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
It's either send me that one or my favorite Star Trek episode, and it's only my favorite because all of them are so great that it's hard to really pick your favorite. So I picked the one that rings the truest for the longest to me, and that's Casino Royale.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Yeah, so that's just, you can send me that one or you can send me The Big Goodbye.
The
Big Goodbye would be awesome because the Chicago scenes would probably be the shit.
Oh, they're gorgeous. They're
right.
Absolutely. Another, I mean, if we're going to start talking about Star Trek,
because just hang on. That's the Big Goodbye is exactly who I put Dresden. His office is in the Big Goodbye version of yes. And everything is old, like in that holodeck, world, and yes.
No.
Okay. You too, then, right?
The Star Trek. One of the ones that I always loved was The Measure of a Man, or Measure of a Man.
That's the episode where they challenge whether Data's
is property or
sentient,
right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whether he's self-guiding, right, and self-aware, or whether he's a machine and property, essentially.
Right.
And Riker is the one that has to convince that he's a machine because there's nobody to defend them. They're at a starbase where they don't have a proper.
Right, and they did at the starbase to try. Well, it was a scheme on like whoever in Starfleet
wanted to do the experiments on Data.
Right.
Fucking great episode.
Yeah.
That episode's intense. That's an example of how great the writers were.
Well, did you know that the first season and a half of Next Generation were actually based off of the original series scripts that weren't used?
Wait, no, wait. Say that again?
Okay, so the first season and a half of The Next Generation.
Season and a half, okay.
Most of the episodes were based off original series scripts that were written but never used because the show got canceled.
Really? I didn't know that.
So that's why like the first season and a half or so feels kind of not like The Next Generation. Like it feels weird, Yeah,
I mean the writers even talk about that it took them a few seasons before they were finally the Star Trek Next Generation kind of started to take its own, and they realized that they didn't want to do the old school version of the monster of the week, the alien of the week. Mm-hmm. That they really wanted to do more of a long-term soap opera kind of character development, kind of thing. And it's always been better since, like, because that's what spawned the great, just that block of amazing Star Treks where you went Next Generation into DS9 into Voyager.
Voyager fell off for me. Like the first
No,
couple
it
seasons,
didn't. It
me.
only fell off. Okay, you're right, because the Borg isn't the Borg like they're supposed to be the Borg.
In all of Star Trek, like one Borg cube just wipes out the entire Federation.
One cube, and she's taking on. She goes in the heart of essentially Borg home planet.
Mm-hmm.
In more than one episode. Yeah, I know.
And, I like. This kind of like reminds me of some stuff that they talk about in Dresses. Like, okay, when the Borg come to town, why doesn't everyone get an M16? They can stop phasers, but they can't stop bullets.
Is that true?
Yeah, because in First Contact, he turned.
Yeah, he does kill them with a Tommy gun, but that's the first one to ever experience a Tommy gun. What would happen if he shot the second one?
Right, but they can block energy, but not. I mean, it's like getting hit with a fucking baseball bat. I mean,
it's true. It's slug thrower.
Right.
Did you know that in the Star Wars universe, we're talking about Star Trek, which is humans in the future, but Star Wars, which is the Jedis and the lightsabers, that they have slug throwers, and that's what they're called in that world, and they're used by assassins.
Nice.
Yeah, they're used for their the reliability and I think slug throwers in the Star Wars universe are better at piercing shields.
That makes sense.
Right. Shields are more of an energy, dispersion technology, and this is just shoots a. They're called slug throwers. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that's why I like Firefly. Have you seen Firefly?
No. We keep talking about it. I haven't watched it yet.
You gotta watch Firefly.
I've played a lot of video games since the last time we talked.
It's 12 episodes. Gotta watch it.
The reason I don't want to watch it is because I'm under the impression that it just stops.
It does,
and I don't want to get involved.
But they made the movie Serenity, which kind of ties it up. But anyway,
all the internet talks about Fireflies. They don't know what happens, and it's like I don't want to get that involved because the internet seems to really love Firefly.
Oh, it's one of those shows like the first the pilot. You're like, okay, I dig it because it's Space Cowboys is what it is. They're out on the fringe, so the technology's kind of iffy. So, on these outer worlds, they're still using horse and buggies and all sorts of stuff and actual guns and the
steam power.
Yeah, and
but they still have space
Alliance.
Stations.
Yeah, the Alliance has big spaceships and this is really cool. And you're like, okay, yeah. And then the characters start to develop, and you're like, it's Joss Whedon at his best, in my opinion. I don't think he ever wrote anything as good as Firefly.
Really?
Oh yeah, including the Avengers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. Such a good show.
Sorry if you can hear the dogs.
Right.
I had this idea even before Firefly was described to me, but we've talked about Firefly a long time ago. But this idea of that what happens if nothing happens to humanity in the future, like if we just keep going and we don't find any other aliens or any other world, we don't ever find interstellar travel, and you just go 400 or 500 years in the future. So Mars has colonized the moon, some of the planets or some of the moons on
like Saturn or Jupiter or something.
Right, some of the moons around those have been inhabited, stuff like that. But other than that, and since it's so spread out and you've got so many humans now, there's parts of space or parts of, the solar system right where we live that's real seedy. Mm-hmm. And you could have bounty hunters, and you could have this real cowboy-esque, gambling, and you could have saloons, and, this real technology's really awesome, and there's a bunch of it, but a lot of that's just government technology that keeps the cities running and the shields up. But we've been around for so long, and there's so many of us that a lot of it's still kind of Mad Max style, like the underworld of Coruscant and stuff. And I was like, man, I always wanted to write a story about a guy living in that world who was a bounty hunter that was a cowboy with a pistol, and in my head he was a lot like Dresden. He had the duster and the hat, like a cowboy hat, and he walked around and collecting, getting into adventures.
Yeah, we could try. I always felt that I needed, because I can actually write very well, but
actually you can write amazingly well.
I have a hard time staying focused.
You're one of the only people's poetry other than like legendary poetry that everybody agrees like, okay, yeah, this is a great poet, you know, like you're the only poet that I've ever read that gives me chill bumps and makes me cry like more than once. Like more than one of your poems has made me go, I just can't read the rest of this right now. I've had to stop reading your poems like halfway through and they're only 2 paragraphs. Yeah. Some of your stuff is so real and so true. Yeah. For anybody who doesn't know, this guy's made a book.
Yeah. I have. If I just to indulge my own curiosity, like, can one of them that you can think of off the top of your head that you're just like that one? If there was one that you're gonna be like, that's Jacob.
You know me and my memory. I don't have the greatest memory. But there's the one where you wrote about the beach and the sand. I want to say you wrote one about being afraid that I thought was good.
There's been a lot of those.
And, you know, you and all your heartbreak ones. But you had some of them that were just about, like, life in general, just about, like, kind of growing up and being confused. And I thought those were good, too.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and reread your poems.
What's funny is, like, most of those are written under 5 minutes. Almost all of them are written under 5 minutes.
You're one of the few people who really can indulge the muse. You can be like doing something and then just all of a sudden you're like, "Fah!"
Yeah, pretty much.
And you're writing faster than you can keep up. You know, you're just trying to just get these words out. And if anybody ever saw the original draft of some of these poems, they don't even look like words. It's like shorthand. It's like your hand can barely keep up with the ideas. And then you go back and you'll rewrite them or type them down. Yeah. And some of them are missing words. You're like, I'm not sure what that word was. You know, it's just like I kind of skipped over and I didn't get to it, but you'll fill them in.
Yeah, finishing that book was a big deal for me. It took a lot out of me to actually get it done, but I was glad I did it.
Yeah, it made me cry when I saw it.
I should probably actually get a copy for myself. I don't actually have one. I know. I gave them away. I ordered like 3 of them and I gave them away.
It's understandable. They were great.
Well, anyway, now we've gone really personal.
My bad.
No. Okay.
Love you, Jacob.
All right, so I think it's time to introduce our newest segment. Jacob's Big Thought.
Okay.
Okay, so there's been a lot of talk, especially recently with political figures and stuff, about the whole science versus religion, and for whatever reason, people think they can be mutually exclusive, when I don't believe they have to be. But it got me thinking about...
Oh, well, okay. Go ahead and get your whole thought out. Okay. But I'm going to write that idea down.
Science and religion are not mutually exclusive. That's
not
a fact.
Not mutually exclusive.
Right. But so it got me thinking about something I've thought about a bit. And it's, I believe, one of the greatest theological questions ever posed was in a 90s pop song. And it's, what if God was one of us?
Okay, so what if God was one of us?
Well,
what does that even mean?
That's not the question. That's not the question that is interesting to me. It's if we I'm trying to remember exactly how it goes. It's
if seeing
if seeing meant would you see God, and so you could know without a shadow of a doubt, but seeing meant that you had to believe in God and Jesus and the saints and everything else, and follow. And then I think that the end is the kicker, the follow and be one of his disciples, because you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that everything that has been written is true. Do you look? Do you actually know?
Okay, so for some reason you know that God is among us. Like, it's not a question of faith.
Right.
If you see him, it's a reality.
Shake his hand. Like, you shake God's hand. That's basically what the question is.
Right, but it's not what you're asking me, though, is if it wasn't no longer a question of faith.
Right. It was stone cold, 100%
If it was just
reality.
a question of reality that you had to choose to accept.
Right.
Would I still choose to accept it? That's the big idea.
No.
What if it was a reality that... What if there was proof, is what you're saying? No. Would you want to see that proof?
would you want to see the proof if meaning you couldn't deny it anymore? Like, and
right,
you had
okay.
and I say be a Christian, and I'm not like a lot of people think Christian of, right-wing fundamentalism and all that crap. I mean, like, honest to goodness, love your neighbor as yourself, Good Samaritan, the whole bit, the actual true Christianity, and not the bullshit that a lot of people sell as Christianity.
Okay, so to answer, I guess, the question, personally, I mean, everybody that's listening to this, we have a Twitter, so you can send it to there, the 42, whatever your opinions on this question is. But for me personally, what is the Twitter? 42 Podcast?
Mm-hmm. It's the same as the email that you see below the screen here.
Okay, but just instead it's just @ on the Twitter account, right? So anyway, me personally, the only way, my only concern is knowing that I would have I don't even know the right way to say this. The reason I'm not what you would call a Christian today is because I don't believe anybody that is teaching Christianity or anything that you could really figure out not on your own. Well, this is hard to explain. Well, this is personal. I think the problem with Christianity today is all the false prophets.
I'd agree completely, 100%.
Right, like if you go to almost any church, that's a false prophet. That's not the right version. That's not what Jesus would agree on, right? Mm-hmm. So if I could shake Jesus' hand, and then from then on I knew what Jesus was going to tell me was right, like he was now the Pope.
Okay.
Fuck yeah, sure, I'll follow. But the problem is I don't want to shake his hand, and then he's not around. I'm back here in Texas, and I got to go to Tomball Bible Church.
Right.
It's like, it's a fine church. It's a good church, blah, 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 whatever. If you go there, no big deal. It's good for a lot of people because they do build a great version of the scaffolding to life if you're not a free thinker. But be damned if you're a free thinker, and I don't think Jesus would shun free thinkers. I think you could have a great philosophical debate with Jesus.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
Couldn't you? Like,
yes,
wouldn't that be something... I don't know.
If you believe the accounts of the Bible, he was one of the greatest scholars of his time, especially religious-wise.
So that's my answer. The problem with it is that there's nobody to follow. There's nowhere to get the right answers. And I don't even believe necessarily you can get the right answers out of the Bible per se. I believe there's a lot of truth in the Bible, but I think there's a lot of truth around us anywhere, around us, just period. There should be just, truth is self-evident to me. And I find all the parts in the Bible that aren't what I would consider okay or true, they really hold back from the whole thing. And it's not necessarily the Bible itself, but it's a lot of what people have interpreted to mean today.
Yes. So as you know,
kill the fags while I have a tattoo of a cross. Those kind of people.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't make any sense.
I went to a Christian school, as you know, and now the listeners know. And so I took a lot of Bible classes.
I grew up in a hardcore fundamental Christian household.
You know my family.
Well, I mean, we're best friends. That's one of the reasons we were allowed to be friends, is because both of our families were hardcore enough for each other.
But I have one and I developed this early on in my college career, of this very simple and fundamental view of reading the Bible. If it is truly God's word, you can discuss inerrancy, but God is like, here, this is my word to you, right? If this is true,
okay,
God in no uncertain terms wrote the Bible to fuck with us. He did not do that in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So the people who are like, oh, you just don't understand the meaning, are wrong. Because God didn't write the Bible for scholars. He wrote it for you and me.
I don't think you need the Bible. It's pretty self-evident.
Well,
right?
Yeah. So even in the Bible, it says that creation cries out, right?
Right. So, right. And if a bird is creation, then what are we? Like, I mean, shouldn't we cry out? Like, shouldn't there be a part of us that just knows? There's a part of, it's like, why do you know things are just wrong? Like, sometimes you'll experience something that's new to you, and you've never experienced it before. But there's a part of you that's just like, oh, that wasn't right. That was wrong. And it's like, how do you know that was wrong? Because you know. There's something inside of you that knows. And if you know that, and you know that there's a greater power above you, but just because it doesn't make any sense if there isn't, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of things that just start to fall into place and start to become self-evident after that.
Right.
But
Yes.
I have a real hard time with once people start writing things down and start saying that I know and you don't know, and they start exerting some type of authority and power over it. It's just like,
I agree.
I could just stab you in the throat. It's like if we, if we can't have a real, I don't think a church can be over about 20 people. You need about 20 to 30 people that can sit around and have a conversation and talk to each other and know everybody's name. And there should be, a real conversation about the hard problems and the hard questions. It shouldn't be this washover thing and that always has this 15-minute segment about we need 10% of your money. You know what I mean? It's like we don't need that. Like I don't know. We're talking about some of my frustrations about the church, which it becomes difficult for me to talk about because I did grow up in that fundamental Christian household, and there is a part of me that's just resentful towards that, period. But there is a part of me that's just also like, it doesn't quite make enough sense. You know what I mean? There's just, I don't know, whatever. Yeah, it's funny. I haven't talked about this ever.
Yeah. Well, I guess Jacob's big thought did his job, and hopefully it does the job for other people, because I don't like I don't have all the answers, and neither does Ryan, and neither do you. If you think you do, you're wrong.
And if you think you do, I would love to hear them.
I would love to hear them.
Yeah, because if you do,
email at the bottom right here,
right, or the Twitter, hit us up.
But I want to talk. I love ideas. I love big ideas, big thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading something today about how the existence of dark matter has disproved the Big Bang.
We were talking about that.
And how a lot of people are starting to theorize that the universe never expanded. It has just always been.
It's always been.
It's always been.
But it is expanding now.
It's expanding, but...
And our math does hold up true all the way down to like microseconds. And I mean microseconds as small as several nanoseconds right before the Big Bang. We can figure out the physics all the way up to that.
Right, but the physics, all those physics have been disproven when dark matter was proved.
Oh, okay, that's what you're saying.
Yes, quantum mechanics.
But then what else?
Quantum mechanics and general relativity.
General relativity.
Yes. The theory of general relativity cannot explain dark matter. They explain the Big Bang, but they cannot explain dark matter because dark matter and the Big Bang cannot fit together.
Okay, well, go ahead and tell everybody what dark matter is, because some people are going, what the fuck are you talking about right now?
Dark matter is basically antimatter. It's, in a lot of respects, it is exactly what they thought it was, like they said it was in Star Trek. It is the opposite of matter.
And it exists in this universe.
Yes.
How? How can they? Why do they say it exists, and why do they call it dark?
I don't know.
It's a pretty difficult subject.
Right. It was one of the things that they were able to detect it in the Hadron Collider, the Super Hadron Collider in Sweden, and it lasted like 1/10,000th of a second, because as soon as it reaches the sensors to pick it up, it explodes. So,
because if it's antimatter, anytime it comes in contact with matter,
it explodes.
They annihilate each other.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And so
in an equal, so what is it? It's a negative electron? It may exist in a positive electron world?
My limited knowledge of the subject, yes.
And we call it dark because we can't detect it?
Or I don't know why they call it dark. They just call it dark. Probably because antimatter has been used too much in science fiction. So they went with something that hadn't been used as much.
Is it separate from dark energy, which they think is what's fueling the expansion of the universe? Is it something different than that?
That I don't know.
Okay.
But
anyway,
so it's just one of those interesting things where science is always changing, because I think it's got to be in the first 5 or 6 paragraphs of the Dresden File, like the first Dresden Files books, where he talks about the great religion of the 20th century is science.
Technology. Yeah, science. That's right. Not technology, but science.
And that to me is just rings so true, because I'm like, do you know how many times science, like fundamental, undisputable laws of science have changed and had to change because they were proven to be wrong or lacking?
You win Nobel Prizes by breaking the laws of physics.
Yeah.
That's how you win a Nobel Prize. Break a law of physics and prove that it's possible and that what we thought of reality isn't true, and they'll give you $1 million and a little gold medallion.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, that's what it is.
I mean, even something as simple as geometry was proven to be false. Well, to be not exact when we started going into space.
That was, man. Now we're talking about some stuff that's real geeky. But there was a mathematician that figured out that you cannot create a system that can prove itself perfectly true.
Mm-hmm.
There can be, in every system that you create, there can be truths inside of the system that are true, but that are not provable with the system.
Mm-hmm.
And which is just essentially saying that even something as simple as 1 + 1 = 2, math, isn't perfect. There is no exact perfect version of reality that we have yet. There's no system that we can create that can look at itself perfectly.
Yeah, and if anyone on Reddit ever sees this, it's going to blow up Reddit for like 2 months, because those people are insane about their science and how perfect it is.
Oh no, I think Reddit's pretty smart. They know that the system itself can't be proven. But I think it's interesting to say that science can't prove itself, because it's a little bit different from a mathematical function. But I guess it isn't. It's a system.
It's a system. I mean,
it's a system. So that's what it is.
Basically, all science breaks down into some form of math.
Right. Okay. Well, that's because math is just a universal language to describe the universe. So math can be used to describe almost anything you're doing.
Right. And so and there's also other stuff about science and what is considered to be true that I have a hard time with reconciling in my mind. Entropy and evolution.
Evolution is self-evident.
But it breaks the second law of thermodynamics.
How? In what way?
The second law of thermodynamics is the law of entropy, which states that all systems move from order to disorder.
Okay. This is just me being an idiot. I don't have any real research in this, but this is just me trying to figure that out on my own.
Mm-hmm.
If I take a perfectly coiled up string, right? I take it, I roll it up perfectly, and it's a circle. That's order. Is that order? Okay. I put that in a box, and I shake it up. It goes from order to disorder, but now is infinitely more complex than it was when it was orderly. And isn't that where the complexity could come from?
There's no extra complexity. There's no extra complexity.
It is the knots themselves, the loops and the strings. Isn't that where
with the way
you could be looking at it the wrong way? Like, what if evolution? What if at one point it was perfect, and the entropy that was introduced is the evolution? The further we get away, the crazier it will get.
So
and this is just an expression.
Evolving instead of evolving.
Yes, it's an expression of more and more extremes, more and more crazy.
Perhaps
it's a breakdown. It's like you had a perfect frequency, beep, and then something happened where and it just turns into static. And in the static somewhere, you have enough oscillation back and forth that there's just this one string that runs true. And that's the reality that we seem to exist on.
Maybe,
but like there's an infinite amount of parallels.
I've never seen a good rebuttal of entropy and evolution. Everyone I've read has just said that it is mathematically possible to get around it. To which I go, well, the math of evolution is so minor anyway. And I go back and forth. I mean, I'll be honest. I go back and forth between, like.
What is? Okay, explain it to me in a layman's terms. What's your difficulty with evolution?
Well, the mathematically evolution is scientifically impossible.
Why?
Because the odds of it are so slim, it is impossible by math. I mean, there is an odd.
If there's any percentage chance in an infinite system,
it's
if the system's infinite, right? Wouldn't any of those percentages ring true eventually?
Right, eventually maybe, but our system isn't infinite. Our system is finite. We don't know the edge of it, but it is a finite system.
What is the universe?
The universe, yeah. The universe has a limit. We don't know where it is, but it has a limit.
How? Why?
It can't go on. I mean, it might go on forever, but it still has an infinite number of things. You could say it's big enough that, it does happen at one point, but I don't know how they describe this, and I'm not trying to say one thing's right or wrong, because
well, okay, so without the math, can't you just look around and see that it's self-evident?
Well, I would say on a micro scale, but not macro.
Oh, no. Sure, it's happening on a macro scale. I can show you what bowls used to look like 1,000 years ago, and they don't look anything like our modern-day bowls. Bowls, just a thing you have in the kitchen, has evolved. It has.
Oh, yes, obviously that, but I'm saying like...
Your cell phones have evolved, right?
Yeah,
They've even shown examples...
That's completely different.
It is not. It's an example... That is an expression of the universe that we exist in. If you're looking at the whole system as a whole and you're looking at it, how do you explain that outside of the system then? If that is an evolution, that is an explanation of evolution of things getting better out of actually through things that are survive. Like the best apps come, we get them on the next phone. The first iPhone didn't have a flashlight on it. But all the new ones do. You can just drag it up and there you go. It turns on your flash on the back because that was such a good app. They put it on the phone. That's an example of evolution. That's inside of the system that we exist in.
Right. But that's still, if you want to get down to it, that's microevolution, not macro.
Well, what about the finch on those islands that are adapting? Like they've actually seen the adaptation of their beaks into a new species.
Well, that's
like we've seen that in our lifetime.
Still micro. Happen. That's still micro. That's micro. That's
okay. Explain macro
within species. Humans have gotten taller. I mean,
that isn't even evolution. That's just an expression of our genes because of good nutrition through our entire lives.
But that's humans evolving. Skin color. I mean, hell. I mean, black, white. The dogs. Shapes of our faces.
We've taken dogs from wolves. That's an expression of evolution right there.
Yes, that's micro.
And that's an engineered evolution. That's not even like nature evolution.
Correct.
But it's still nature evolution because it works the same way. It still works. There was a symbiotic relationship. There was a reason that this worked out better for a certain, breed that did it, and a certain breed that didn't died off. We don't have them anymore. Or they continued to be wolves or wild dogs. I don't. What do you mean macro then? If you don't mean micro, what do you mean macro?
The moving and changing of one species into another completely.
But there is proof of it happening over time.
There's proof of species changing into different types of the same species. The finches are changing from one bird to another bird, and they're not going from a fish to a bird.
But but we know that so when they proved that through the genealogy of orcas or killer whales, that they at one time were a land-dwelling mammal, that they were a bear-like creature, and they evolved into a sea-faring creature up in the north when things got cold.
I'd have to see that. I haven't seen any of that.
But they're not really a fish. They're still a mammal.
Right.
So what you're saying as a macro example would be them going from gills to lungs.
Yeah, basically.
Right.
And so, like I said,
are there no examples of that in science?
Not that I've ever read of.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So what are you saying then? Or what do you think then?
It's either, and this is where I really go back and forth, because I do believe in a God, and as people can tell by the way I talk, I'm not a very good Christian, but I do believe in a God, and I don't know about creationism or not.
Creationism, as opposed to the school of like science.
Well, yes. I mean, if I were to say it, I would say I was a theistic evolution. God's the why, not the how. And that actually, in my mind, explains a lot of the entropy issues, because God himself, if he wanted us to evolve, which he does, could suppress that entropy so we could evolve.
I guess you'd have to explain entropy to me better. What does that exactly mean?
Here, I will pull up the definition of entropy.
Okay, yeah, we can just pull it up on Wiki. Just explain it to me real quick. Because I don't know exactly what you mean. I don't understand why giving an infinite amount of parts that you need for the creation to happen. Like all the things we're not created of anything magical. There's nothing in us that doesn't exist in the universe, right? So why can't we just be part of the universe? Why couldn't it have happened? I mean, things seems to be getting more complicated around me every day. Is that not if I exist inside the system, isn't that a direct, that's not entropy. That's, it's the opposite of it, right? I mean, isn't the universe expanding anyway? Isn't that acceleration?
Well, acceleration is different than entropy. You can be growing and falling apart at the same time. I mean, humans do it. I mean, the human body is probably the best example of entropy in the world. Eventually, we run out. Our genes cannot replicate well enough, and we die. Or we give ourselves cancer, and then that kills us. Something.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess I guess I don't know it well enough to know what you're talking about, really. Because what is entropy? What is I mean, isn't that the second? That's the thermodynamics. That means everything's cooling down, right? There's less and less energy in the world.
Well, let's see. Here we go. Thermodynamic entropy is a measure of number of specific ways in which a thermodynamic system may be arranged, commonly understood as a measure of disorder.
But isn't something more complex less ordered?
No, the more complex it is, the more ordered it is.
Why?
Because...
isn't Windows 8 way more complex than Windows 95?
Yes.
But it's way less efficient. It's way less ordered.
Well, if you want to get into that, it's completely different. But this is more natural systems. But
isn't that a natural system? I'm confused.
Right, but for things to keep working together, they have to be ordered. A to B to C to D. For every action is equal and opposite reaction.
Okay.
And so, here's a good example of entropy. So you have, the balls on the strings that you drop and they hit. Eventually, they'll stop.
Correct.
And that's a system going from order with energy to a system without. So things lose energy over time. And, if the universe is 18 billion years, it's going to be losing energy and losing order. Things break down. And so for things to become more complex and more orderly, defy entropy is still one of those things that I don't know how to reconcile in my mind. That's really what I'm trying to say.
Interesting. That is definitely a big thought. Like, that's weird.
Yeah, we've been on this for a long time. So, Ryan, what would you like to recommend for us today?
Oh, what was my recommend? Give me a second. I was thinking it was something simple. I was on the freeway and I was with my son and it was if I wanted to recommend anime in general, but then I thought I needed to give a specific one. But I wanted to give an example of how anime isn't necessarily just cartoons.
Right.
That it can be an expression of like a real story with, characters and development and very entertaining. So I wanted to recommend The Brotherhood. I can't remember. I said all that trying to remember what it's called. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. That's what it is. I wanted to recommend that. And it's a story about two brothers that are involved in a universe where alchemy exists.
Right.
And that's the creation of... It's kind of like using magic, and you transform things... You can transform matter into more complex forms of that matter. So turning lead into gold and different things like that.
And that's the big example is lead into gold.
Right. But in this universe, there's lots of alchemy. And they try to do things that involve the spirit world and different things like that. Mm-hmm. And I highly, highly recommend it. And it's a great example of how anime doesn't necessarily have to be for children. And I also recommend that you don't watch that with any children in the room. Because it is quite intense, and there are some scenes of gore, and I can't remember specifically any sex scenes, but I think there's a few that, there might be a few risky scenes. So keep the kids out of that one.
Well, I would like to recommend the Glenlivet 15. It's a beautiful scotch. It's good. Good price. Good price to value ratio there.
Is it okay to drink on YouTube?
I hope so.
Amen to that.
I mean, hell, there's My Drunk Kitchen is one of the most popular shows on this fucking site.
Oh yeah, that's right. What's the other one? Epic Mealtime.
Epic Mealtime. Yeah.
Yeah, they make everything with bourbon or scotch or Jack or something like that. Yeah.
Bourbon. Oh, been down a few too many rabbit holes with bourbon.
Yeah, that's a real man's drink.
Yeah. Maybe not the way I drink it, but.
What do you make, Manhattans?
Old Fashions.
Old Fashions.
So you get a big piece of ice, 4 ounces of bourbon, ½ ounce to an ounce of simple syrup, some grenadine and muddled oranges.
What's a muddled orange?
So you get you grind the orange in it.
Peel and all?
Yeah, and so just all that juice is there, and you pour the bourbon into the orange, it just pulls everything out of it. It's very nice.
Wait, the entire orange skin, everything that's inside the orange is put in the drink?
It's like a slice, like a muddled slice of an orange. Yeah.
But that's put in the drink.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of at the bottom. Mm-hmm. And then you put the other stuff on top with the ice.
Yep.
Okay. And then what else goes in it?
That's it.
Oh, that's it?
Uh-huh.
And it's good?
Oh, it's fantastic. Oh, and bitters.
Strong.
There are the bitters.
I was fixing to say, I was like, damn, that sounds strong as fuck.
The bitters are 50% alcohol as well. So. But it's a couple dashes of the bitters, which just really pulls the drink together. It's fantastic. Really started drinking those. It's kind of sad. Like, we found all these really cool places before we left Tulsa.
Like right before you left?
Right before. And this one place we started going to was called the Valkyrie. And their things was their tagline was serious drinks. And these people were like, the term gets thrown around a lot, like mixologists. Like these people, they were that. They were scientists of mixing drinks. They were artists, and they made some fantastic drinks.
And that is where you go in and you're like, I normally like to drink a Manhattan. And they're like, okay, and then they make you something like a Manhattan.
Or they just like, what liquor do you like to drink? Okay. What flavors do you like? okay, and then they make you something.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. And it was cool because, like, the menus were these huge, like, 20-foot tall chalkboards that they had ladders and slid them around. It was, I mean, they were... It
like
was
on
a cool
rollers,
place.
like at a library or something?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, that's awesome.
I haven't found a place like that here in Pittsburgh yet, which makes me sad.
There has to be. Pittsburgh has to have some old school cool bars.
Oh, yeah. We went to this one yesterday that, like, it felt super shady because, like, you had to walk down this alley for a little while to get to the entrance, and it's like you get in the bar and it's kind of dark and it's wood paneled.
That sounds awesome.
And it's noon and you're just hoping to get something to eat.
That's funny.
Yeah, Pittsburgh is an interesting place. It's definitely old. That's something you had, like, good for better for worse. It's an older city, and I don't know. It's something else. But I'm looking for a cool bar. That's the problem is it's really hard to get around here. Like I've said before, like getting around can be very, very difficult.
Yeah, traveling.
Just because like the terrain makes it hard to get places because there's lots of rivers and there's lots of really large hills, hundreds of feet tall kind of hills.
Damn.
Yeah, real hills.
I don't think of it being as that hilly, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's you'll get streets that are like this, literally, and so it can be really hard to get around. So like, because in Texas or Houston, you're like, oh, whatever, it's 30, it's 40 miles here.
Right.
I'd never consider going that far for anything.
Ever. Right. Yeah. The closest bar, if I go to a bar that's 15 miles away, that's no big deal. For you, that might be a 2-hour drive.
Depending on where it is, yes, that could be a 2-hour drive or more.
Fuck that.
Yeah. So that's been hard finding good bars. And plus their liquor laws here are super weird.
So you find yourself at home drinking scotch, huh?
Yeah, or we just hit the same couple places and
right.
We don't explore as much as we used to. Granted, we didn't explore that much in Tulsa, but we did a little bit more. we are creatures of habit. But the nice thing though is especially if you're a creature of habit, especially at a place that serves alcohol and you tip well, you eventually start getting free drinks. It's just what happens.
Yeah, they start taking care of you. Yeah.
When Kelly was in Stillwater, we made friends with one of the bartenders at this bar we really like to go to in downtown. Mm-hmm. And we would drink all night, 3 or 4 hours, and the check would come and it would be $3.
$3?
Because that was the minimum they could process on a credit card.
Wow.
So I would have to hand the girl a 20. We would drink $100 worth of alcohol.
Right, and then
just hand him. I was like, here you go, just take it. And so it was a real shock when we lost that because for a while that's pretty much the only place we drank.
Right.
And so we got used to only him spending $15-$20 for a night of drinking, and then we lost it. So that was always sad.
That would be.
And that bar was great because they didn't serve food, so they didn't care if you brought in food. So sometimes if we really felt like going out, we would just cook and pack it up and take it to the bar and drink and hang out.
That's fun.
Or I had more than once, many times, had pizza delivered directly to the bar.
Yeah, I've done that to magic shops and bars before. Yeah, they're cool like that. Some of them, like the pub down the street, they're cool like that.
Nice.
Yeah, they got a thing worked out with Papa John's. I think if you order it at the bar, they'll order it for you.
Oh, very nice.
And put it on your tab. Yeah.
Oh, that's even better.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
it just
awesome.
shows up. They just shows up and they just bring you a pizza. Like they cooked it or something, right? But they didn't. It's in a Papa John's box. But yeah.
War stories. Gotta love them.
Yeah, talking about being drunk. What's the dumbest thing that's ever come out of your mouth? What's the dumbest thing you've ever said?
The dumbest thing I've ever said.
Mm-hmm. Your biggest, oh, fuck. Or things when you woke up the next day, you're like, I didn't say that. Your friends are telling you told the cop to totally fuck off, dude.
I royally shot my mouth off in an interview one time.
Did you really?
Yes.
In what way?
I was interviewing, and because I spent the first 5 years of my career as a consultant, which a lot of times involve learning a very brand new piece of software in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
And I'm a simulation expert, and there's different simulation packages, and they were wanting the job I was interviewing for and got, by the way, was in a completely different simulation package. And I said to a vice president, I will learn this in 2 weeks and be better than anyone in this building.
Did it work out that way?
Yeah.
Did it really?
No. It took me 3 weeks.
Well, then that's not really that dumb. That doesn't count. Like, you gotta say something stupid because mine's way more embarrassing.
I was in a fight with my girlfriend one time. And
cool. Whoa. You sure you want to go with this one?
Well, there's many stories that start with that tagline. I was in a fight with a girlfriend one time. And she said, I really wish you would stop cursing, I think is what she said. And I was at the end of my rope. And I was just like, I just really wish you would stop dressing like a slut.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm like 19, 18, maybe 17. I don't know how young I am. But we're still... No, we got to be 18 because we're seniors in high school. Maybe it's the summer after we graduated, so we're 18, 19, right?
Okay.
We're hanging out in an apartment, and we have lots of beer and lots of weed. This is just straight, like, typical teenager party at some apartment, right?
Trashed.
And some, 23-year-old chick that has an apartment with a roommate's letting us party because the roommate's out of town kind of thing. So there's like 15 or 20 of us in this, little 2-bedroom apartment just getting shitty, right? Just getting fucked up. So, and I'm, at this point in my life, I went from a sheltered, fundamental Christian life, like we were talking about originally, to at 18, I had a decent car and my own job and my own reality. So I was pretty much an adult. I could go do what I wanted. So I'm hanging out with, I'm rebelling against that life that I was part of. So I'm hanging out and we're stoned as fuck, right? Mm-hmm. And we're drunk. And I'm not much of a drinker, but at this party, everybody was drinking. So I had even had quite a few. So I was getting there. And I tell you all this because what I'm about to say was pretty ridiculous. But anyway, I am, my friends had this running joke where we would say something ridiculous and then we would leave an uncomfortably long silence, right? So you'd say something ridiculous like, yeah, I rape babies. No, right? So you leave that uncomfortable silence and then you say no, right? Or never, or something ridiculous like that, right? So in front of like 15, 20 people that I don't know, I'm high as fucking drunk. I stand up and my friend says something and I go, yeah, I'm gay. And I try to do that uncomfortable silence, but by the time the uncomfortable silence is the right amount of time to say no, I forgot what I was talking about. And I forgot why everybody was looking at me because everybody's looking at me, right? And I'm just like, and then my friends are like, wait, you didn't say the no part. And then everybody just starts laughing and they start giving me a hard time because I told 20 people I'm gay. And stopped the whole party just in the middle, just randomly just yell out to all these teenagers, I'm gay. And they all turn around to look at me and I forget why. So it was too late to say the no part and actually make it a joke. So I just kind of walked off.
It was not nearly to that scale. But I was in a meeting one time. And have you ever seen How I Met Your Mother?
No. That annoyed me. Sorry.
It's fine. But it's a show that me and a couple of my other friends really like.
Right.
And so we'll... for a while, we would just randomly quote How I Met Your Mother. And there's this part in, I think it's the second or third episode, really early. And the main character is trying to get one of his ex-girlfriends back. He says, in his high-pitched voice, self-respect is overrated. Right? And so I'm in a meeting and someone says something about self-respect and I'm not even thinking. And I put it out in the voice. Self-respect is overrated. And everyone just looks at me. And I realized what I had done and said, "No, How I Met Your Mother fans," and everyone just shakes their head no. I'm like, I'm just gonna crawl inside my hoodie and die right now.
That's what I did as a teenager at a party. That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, that's way better. That's what I meant. Something like that. Come
Something
on.
like that.
Yeah.
I'm bad about that, especially because like a lot of people, you and a lot of my other friends, like we've known each other long enough, and we have a lot of the same interests that we just throw in references to things that unless you like are up on our level of nerd, you're just not getting.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But that's one of the things we enjoy is inside jokes. That's one of the things.
But it's hard. Like I actually notice it's becoming harder to relate to other people. The more like, the older I get, because I'm like, so much of my world is like inside jokes, basically.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
You up for a quick break?
I am.
Okay, cool.
Because I need to go to the restroom.
Desperately have to pee. Yes.
Yeah, me too. All right, man. I'll be right back.
This is Adam Warrock. And he has also graciously let us use his music.
Oh, hey. We're back.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
this is some rap.
Good job. Oh, we were talking about Ryan Recommends.
Mm-hmm.
Are you recording again?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we were talking about Ryan Recommends. I remember what I wanted to say.
Okay.
My original idea was to recommend the anime, because I think more people need to actually give it a chance, because it's more, there's a whole world of entertainment of some of the greatest stories ever been told, because they don't have to use CGI. They can just draw it.
Right.
So you get some really, really great stories that way. Some stuff that you just couldn't put on film. But what I thought I should really recommend this week is the YouTube channel. For any people who's just listening to the podcast, we also have a YouTube channel.
Yes.
And Jacob's been playing a few Dotas. And I have been working actually quite diligently all day today trying to get OBS working. And I'm going to start uploading some different gameplay stuff. Yes, and you can also watch the video of us doing this podcast live. You can see us.
Yes, and all the fun things are going on in the background. Woo!
Yay, background.
I mean, I will admit I do cheat a little bit because the audio for the podcast I just ripped from the video.
Well, whatever, but I mean, that's, but still, you can just go ahead and go to our YouTube channel this week. And we also have a Twitter, which I am now posting and checking at least once daily.
Cool. Yeah, I need to follow it.
Yeah, and just simple things that are going to be topics throughout the week and different things like that.
Yeah, and we'll talk about anything. If you're like,
hell yeah, hit us up. We'll talk about it. Especially right now.
If you know nothing about it, you're just like, hey, I'm really curious about X. We'll do it. No big deal.
We'll do it. Sure, absolutely. Like one of the things that was on the Twitter that I posted this week was, what's the happiest fact you know? Like, what's the happiest thing you know?
The happiest thing I know.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting question, isn't it?
It is.
Mm-hmm. I think a good example of a happy thought that I know of, it may not be the happiest fact I know, but since it needs to be kind of like a fact, right? Like a historical idea or a fact, is that during World War II, that the Allied and the Axis had a Christmas truce.
Mm-hmm. During the Battle of the Bulge. Yep.
Yeah, the Germans put up some Christmas trees and started singing Christmas carols, and the Allies responded with singing their Christmas carols. So the Germans stuck their head up. The Allies didn't shoot them, and then the Allies put their heads up, and the Germans didn't shoot them. So they ended up spending all Christmas Day singing Christmas carols and trading cigarettes and stories, pictures, and they played a couple games of soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Reportedly, supposedly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas is a wonderful
36
time.
hours, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the happiest fact I know. Just right off the top of my head, kind of having to come up with something. I have personal happy facts.
Okay.
Like my children.
Yeah, my wife.
That's happiness. You know, when your kids fall asleep on your shoulders or something when you're watching Mickey Mouse, you know. And my son just turned 2 this week.
Oh, congratulations.
So I have a 2-year-old. He turned 2 Thursday, and we threw a Mickey Mouse themed party, and he got a big boy bed, so he's no longer in a crib. He's sleeping in a bed that he can get out of and in easily. And he actually went to the bathroom in the potty for the first time tonight. So as a parent, that's happy. That's a happy thought. Anyway, that was just something.
It's for a personal happy thought, but for the first time in a long time, even though things have been hard and I've been stressed and all sorts of other things, I'm okay with everything. I had a breakdown a couple of weeks ago and really figured some things out, and ever since then I've actually been happy.
You want to talk about it at all, or?
I went after.
I'm interested.
I went after it hard. I didn't mean to. Like, we went out for lunch, and it was like, there's a restaurant here we like to go to that's a happy hour on Sunday.
Like on a Saturday, or like work?
Sunday morning.
Sunday.
And so I had to work the next day, right? And there's a lot to the story. If we want to spend the time, we'll do it. But I just kept drinking and drinking and drinking, and like I couldn't go to work. Like I was so bad off I could not go to work on Monday, and like I woke up in the middle of the night sometime after lots of vomiting and other things, and just realized that like something was wrong. Something was not right with me, and it took me quite a while. It did, actually, once I figured that out, that it was more than just I overdid it. You know, there was something beyond that in the reason. You know, that
there's a reason you overdid it, not just the fact that you overdid it.
Right. And
okay.
That ever since then, I've really been able to take stock and think about things. And
you want to talk about the reason?
Oh, it's okay. There's certain events that they say are as stressful as losing a family member.
Okay.
I've been through all and multiple of them in the last 5 years.
A few examples, or some generic examples of those things that are.
Here, I'll just bring you through. I haven't talked to you about this relationship a lot, but I dated a girl who was married, actually, and
I know about this a little bit.
I am
your best friend.
Yeah.
I think I know the important parts.
Yeah, and at one point, it was a while ago now, but it was in August a couple of years ago. I had a gun barreled in my head, literally. I mean, I was there. The shame and the regret, and she put me through a lot. It wasn't one of those things where like she was helping my situation. You know, she was actually making it worse. And I was there, and I went through that, and that took me years to get over.
The post-traumatic stress of the gun to your head, like the actual severity of the situation, or the
emotionalness of
her and the relationship,
and
what kind of you had done and how you felt about it,
right? And just how bad it was. Like it was just bad. It was bad. There's no, like, it was the worst I've ever been. I was laid bare completely. I was broken. I was humiliated. I was fearful for my life, for my own.
Were you actually fearful?
Yes.
Wait, you were going to kill yourself? This gun barrel was to your head because of you or somebody else?
Because of me, but I had many and substantial death threats from her husband, and yeah, it got bad. It was not a good thing. And then, I got through that, and then I moved, which is hard. And then I start my master's, which about killed me because I did an entire master's degree in a year. And then immediately I get engaged and all that stress and that wedding. God, I was ready to kill some people after that wedding.
Yeah, I understand there was some drama
I've changed
involved.
job. Like in the last 12 months, I've had 3 jobs.
That's difficult.
It's hard. I've moved cross country, and I've just taken.
Weren't you shot at one point?
I was shot at. It wasn't in this time frame, but I was shot. But even then, like, if you want to go back a little bit more, like, I was dating a girl who I was gonna marry. Like, I was, like, I was there. Like, I was saving up for the ring, the whole bit, and she dumped me over email one day, like out of the blue. Like.
Yeah. So anyway, you're laying on the floor after you've been throwing up, and you come to realize that all of these things are still affecting you.
Yeah, and
like you thought you had dealt with them, but you hadn't, kind of thing.
Kind of. It was more of a just a.
Like, what way did you have a breakdown, and what way are you dealing with it now? If you want to talk about it,
Yeah,
I mean, I know.
It's fine. It's good.
This is the internet.
It's something that, like, if anyone is dealing with any of the kind of issues that I've talked about, please find help. The stigma over mental health in this country is stupid, and go find help. Takethis.org is an amazing organization. If you want to find someone online that can help you, go there. They will help you. It's fantastic. Take this, like
TAKE.
Yeah, and I'll put the show notes. But it's sort of based on Zelda. Take this because it's dangerous to go alone. And they use gaming references in actual games to help people deal with mental issues, and it was just one of those things where I was like, there was something wrong. Like, I didn't realize that something was wrong, and I was just carrying all this weight. I've been sort of self-medicating with alcohol and other things, and it just got to the point where I was just pushing myself so hard, and I wrapped everything up so deep I couldn't feel anything anymore.
Really?
Right, and so I
think we all know what that feels like a little bit.
Yeah, and I was so scared to feel because every time I felt it hurt, because I went through a string of relationships that were all very bad. Well, they shouldn't say bad, but they were all very painful. And then other ones, and I was just at that point where I'm just like, something's wrong. And now, I asked my wife to stay home that day, and we talked a lot, and we figured a lot of things out, and it's kind of where I am because, like, I've had to carry, I've always been the one who's just taken it. I've been the guy who, I'm when it comes to, like, relationships in general, I'm Rocky. I'm the guy who takes 4 punches to land one. That's just who I have been, and it's been bad, and I've had to let go of a lot of things, and things like, and habits I didn't realize I had formed from all these bad experiences, and I'm in a really good place. I'm in a much better place than I was a couple weeks ago. That's for sure.
So you feel better now than talking about it with your wife and kind of actually trying to deal with it instead of ignore it.
Right. Well, and part of it's just understanding that there is a why.
That you do feel this way, that you are self-medicating.
Something is wrong. Something is just, something is just wrong, and
there's some power in acknowledging it.
Right, and I mean, it's the first step to fixing it, and it's been hard because, like, I've been down, but I'd just been so beat up. I mean, it's probably like I wouldn't say depressed. Probably the best word is just beat up for so long that it just tore me apart. And I barely survived it a couple of times.
Yeah, I really didn't.
But now we're here, and now the internet knows everything.
Yeah, I would say that doing this is one of the things that I really look forward to. It's really helped me out. Like, it really makes me I enjoy it. I appreciate it. All 5 listeners who listen, they make me feel good about myself. So
at least I already know the name of this episode. The one that got super real.
Yeah, the real one. Yeah, I'm one of those guys. My family genetically, like, well, you've known me forever.
Yeah.
You know that I can suffer from, like, the chemical depression. You know, like the chemical anxiety. It's like, why are you sad? I don't have a reason. But I can just be real introspective and real quiet and real sad. And for the longest time, I don't know, I'm 29, I'm almost 30. So I'd say for 28 years, 28 and a half years, I really thought it was just a thing of not being a man, like not being manly enough, or like enough of like a, you know, for lack of better words, but like a samurai. You know, it's just like deal with it. You know, everybody's got their issues that they have to deal with. Mm-hmm. But over the last like 6 months to 8 months or maybe a year, I've really broke down and really gotten to the point where it's like, no, there could be just something wrong. Like you could just be chemically imbalanced. Like you might actually need a pill. You know, because I mean, I'll have anxiety on vacation. You know, it's like, you know, those butterfly feelings that you have before you go to prom? Mm-hmm. Like have those going to Epcot. Like that doesn't even make sense. Like why would you be that nervous? Like, you know, you're going to your favorite place like camping and stuff. It's like you're going to have a nice relaxing weekend and being nervous. Like the physical feeling of like shaky, you know, nervous, you know, like real anxiety. You know, your heart's beating fast, like nervous for no reason. You know, and then I also struggle with like being sad. I'm one of those people who can be really sad.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and it's hard, and there is a lot of that, especially in men. I read something this week. It was 1/3 of all suicides in the United Kingdom are men ages 30 to 45. 1/3 of the entire suicide group. And it's just because I think it's a lot of that. Especially
you're not going to ask for help until the very end, and then at the very end, you're so far gone you don't want to ask for help. So it's just easier just end it. You know what I mean? Instead of asking for the help, like it makes sense. It's a manly thing to do in some weird, twisted way. Like it makes sense. Like I get why. I mean,
I was listening to another podcast from the SideCon Network. If y'all haven't checked them out, you should. They have some amazing geeky podcasts, and you know they were talking about the idea of. Because, like, you know, at 40, you're supposed to get your prostate checked, right? Well, at 30, you know, you should just have one of the, like, or maybe even 25. It should be a common and accepted practice to go to a psychologist and get your brain worked on, you know?
Oh, it should be. Absolutely.
You know? And I'm glad. I mean,
have you ever gone?
Yes, I've been to a shrink.
The kind that gives you drugs, or the kind you just talk about things?
He kind of wanted to give me drugs. We went a couple of sessions, but we mainly talked. And when he was like drugs, I was like, no, I don't need drugs.
Why not? Is there a part of you that feels weak if you need them? Like if you broke your leg and you needed a cast, you'd use a cast.
I'm not there. Like that's for me. It's
you put a gun to your head though.
Yeah. Well, yes, but that wasn't because of a chemical depression. That was the accumulation of bad choices and
responsibilities, right?
Right. If it was proven that I was there, I would take them. You know, I would take antidepressants or whatever. But mine's more of me being me, and you know, for a lot of times it really is just figuring out what is wrong. And once I know what's wrong, I can work through it. Right. But I mean, maybe this is arrogant, but like I've always had a stronger mental makeup than most people. You know, I can work through things. I can as soon as I know what's going on, I can figure it out.
Yeah, that's how I felt for so long. But there's a part of me that wonders if it could just be, I don't know, could be chemical. I don't know, man. And
it's worth it to go. I mean, it's just like going to any other doctor for a checkup. You know, once a year, just go, or once every 6 months, just. And it has to be covered now by insurance, right? Which is one of the good things. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the, Affordable Care Act, but it's one of the things I do like about it. Is that mental health has to be covered now. And like I said, if anyone's listening, hearing this, and is having problems, if you want to talk, just email me at the email below. Talk to somebody. Don't hurt yourself. It's stupid. You're only making the hole deeper. Talk to someone. Talk to anyone. Hell, there's even like, oh God, I don't remember what it is, but there's an account that will, like, if you text them, and it's completely free. If you text them, they'll talk to you, and like there's all like trained and to help you through these kind of deals. Find someone to talk to and don't hurt yourself, because life is precious.
Yeah, you can hit me up on Twitter.
We only get one shot at it, and there's no reason to end it early. That's kind of
that's the one thing. Like, you don't have any idea of what happens next. You are the universe experiencing itself. That in itself is one of the most precious things that could possibly be. Like, don't throw that away. Like, things can change. Things weren't like they were 5 years ago, and they won't be like they are now 5 years from now. So,
and like, for an example of how bad it got for me, especially the tail end of my master's, I was working full time to getting my master's, serious relationship, long distance relationship. It was stressful, not to mention other things with previous parties, etc., etc. I would drink 6 to 8 pints of beer, take 2 of the strongest sleeping pills I could get over the counter, and still couldn't sleep.
See, I have the other opposite effect. I can go to sleep at any point. I'm always tired. I'm always ready to let this world go away. I can take a nap right now. I can take a nap 2 hours after I woke up. Like, it's just like, it's just one of the greatest excuses to let this world go by is to take a nap. Like, that's one of the ways I deal with it. I can always go to sleep. But when I do go to sleep, it's the worst kind of sleep. I never get there. I never get any rest. I'm just always tired. I'm always restless. Yeah, I know that feeling. I know I struggle. Yeah, if there's anybody out there that wants to talk, man, hit me up on Twitter. Like, it's, the email, but just Twitter.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't mind it either. Wouldn't bother me. But anyway, this is kind of sad, kind of real. Let's talk about something more fun.
Okay.
You've had pets before?
Yes.
If you could ask your pet one question, like in some weird genie scenario, your pet wished to talk to you and you get to ask one question, what would it be? What would you ask your pet?
What can I do to make you more comfortable?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Are you happy? Yeah, that's a good one.
How stupid do you really think I am?
Right.
Like, the dog looks at you and he's just like, you're a fucking idiot.
I guess you could ask him something more like, do you always understand me? Like, I can't understand you, but can you always understand me? Like, when I talk, do you understand what I'm talking about? If so, I'll talk, you could, that would change your relationship. You might talk to him differently.
Okay.
I've got some other interesting facts over the week that happened.
Okay.
They tested the first 5G cell phone wireless speed. So you're getting 1 terabyte a second over 100 meters, which is insane.
I saw that. That was pretty cool.
They plan on rolling it out to a test city in 2018, which is, so look forward to 2025 having 5G cell phone wireless speeds, which is 1 terabyte a second.
That's insane.
Which is essentially get rid of landlines, right? If we can get that kind of cheap 5G cell,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right, we just won't need copper anymore.
Well, that gets rid of cell phones. I mean, that gets rid of voice communication as we know it.
Right, it'll be all data. Yeah.
I mean,
Skype. Yeah, this kind of conversation instead of
this is only megabits.
Right.
This is 100. I mean, I'm on 100 megabits a second.
And imagine your cell phone sounding this clear.
Yeah, I mean, it would change the world.
Right. It's coming. That's just one thing. They're testing it now, so as long as we don't blow ourselves up. That was an interesting fact.
Do you ever wish you could see everything moving around in the air?
Yes. Like if you had the sight, like the Magic School Bus episode where they put the goggles on and they could see sound. Yeah, but instead of sound, you get to see all the Wi-Fi
and
and
the data and the yeah.
They're all on a different isolation and they're all a different color or oscillation.
And like, cause look, I get how, like, intellectually I understand how like Wi-Fi works, but on a practical level, I'm like, that's fucking magic.
It's fucking magic. Yeah, that's fucking magic. Yeah, all of this stuff, like a computer screen or a computer, that's all fucking magic. Absolutely.
Right? I'm like, I look at these graphics and I kind of take them for granted, right? It's like, I mean, I can see you. You are, God, about 1,500 miles away from me. I can see you crystal clear.
Instantaneously. Yes,
and
on our
I know
screen.
people who are just like, oh yeah, that's not a hard thing, dude. You just write this little program and it works. I'm like, no.
It could be elves fucking writing stuff in spray paint, like Joe Rogan said. I have no idea how this is on my screen right now.
And if anyone who listens to the Python programmer, please contact me. I need to talk to you about some things.
Okay, yeah, do that.
Sorry, this may or may not be a paid opportunity. Just let you know.
If you could take any video game made before the year 2000 and make it into a modern day remake, like HD, modern, like badass, which game would you remake? It gets the new improved graphics and extra features. So, like, you know, Mario gets to have speed runs in multiplayer.
Right.
So you're running against Ghost in multiplayer. Like with Mario.
X-Wing versus TIE Fighter.
Fuck yeah. That's a good answer, right?
Because like the first level in X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, when you play as the Rebels, is taking out a it's either a super or regular Star Destroyer.
Right, a Star Destroyer.
And being able to do that multiplayer, like, you know, hey, Red 2, you know, I need help on my 6, you know, and all that. Oh, like, and you have like 50 people playing this one mission in perfect HD. Oh, that'd be so much fun. I would love that. That'd be so much fun.
That would be one. That would be a great one.
That's why, like, I want to, like if Disney were to give me control of LucasArts tomorrow, I would make them $1 billion company within a
$1 billion. Yes, because
absolutely. The first thing I would do is I would put out HD remakes of the major games, you know, X-Wing, TIE Fighter, like the really classic
Jedi Knight, yeah,
on Xbox and PlayStation, and so people, I mean, because
on Steam,
you would buy them, you know.
Fuck yes, I would buy them. Yeah, I would buy them. Fuck yeah, I would buy them. Yeah, I also thought it would be cool if they.
I have an honest question for you. How often do you use your kids as an excuse to play video games?
Oh, I don't need an excuse. I play video games. I don't even make an excuses for it. I just play video games.
But you're not like, hey, we need to play like Mario together. I mean, you're giving them a good education, correct? Mario, Sonic, Zelda, Metroid, Mega. Are you failing as a parent, Ryan?
It's not me. My kids are failing as kids. They don't want to play those games.
They can't handle the graphics.
That's right.
My wife is the same way. It's weird because like
he doesn't want to play, and then the unforgivingness.
Oh yes,
is not something he enjoys at all. You know what I mean? It's like he fails 4 or 5 times on a level and he can't get past it, and he's just like, I don't really want to.
This generation's so
I'm
soft.
as disappointed as you are. He's my kid. That's not what I wanted. I was hoping at his age he was going to be already 100% at like 4 or 5 Zeldas and all the Pokemon, you know. But that's just not who he is. So
yeah. Oh man, those games are tough.
Yeah,
especially but when we were playing those games, those were the only options.
That's right.
You know, but now you have all these games you can't lose.
Yeah, and there's so many of them. It's fun to just play the first 4 or 5 levels because the games have to be so aggressively fun anyway. You know, they don't have any time to build up because they lose interest so quickly. So the first level is awesome. You know, Plants vs. Zombies is pretty fun when the first time you even play it, you know?
Have you played Monument Valley?
No, I haven't.
I just started playing it. Kind of a cool thing. Do you watch House of Cards on Netflix?
I haven't, just because I don't have much time watching TV. I don't have much time to watch TV, but I know I should.
Well, one of the major plot points in this most recent season, centers around a video game review for Monument Valley. And here, I don't know if you can see this, but this is what the game looks like.
I see it.
It's Fez meets MC Escher. Like, it's like what Fez should have been.
Okay.
But instead of moving the world, you move pieces. But it is that whole, forced perspective kind of thing. Oh, it's kind of expensive for what it is, but it's beautiful. The music's great. I'd highly recommend it if anyone wants to pick it up. But it's a lot of fun.
It looked cool. It's on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
What about it on the House of Cards? Like, what about the episode? Like, what was the review? Like, what did it matter?
It was, in the episode, not spoilers, actually, by the time this episode will come out, hardcore spoilers. Things might get spoiled.
Skip a minute.
Yeah. The main character he's trying to push this legislation through.
Mm-hmm.
And because one of the things about the main character is he plays video games, but he's a Call of Duty guy. Like through the entire series, he plays Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm.
Like he loves it. Like that's his thing. That's how he unwinds.
The main character?
Yeah.
Really?
It's actually pretty cool. And it's Kevin Spacey, who's an awesome actor.
That's crazy. Okay.
But he wants a book written to help sell this piece of legislation.
Right.
And this guy who's an author wrote a review for a video game for Monument Valley, and it was so good that he got him to actually play it and get away from the Call of Duty and get into something like in the indie games.
So in House of Cards, which is a fictional show,
yes,
they have elements of reality in it.
Oh, lots, yes.
So that game is that review real?
I don't know. No, the review isn't real.
But the game that they're talking about in the show is real?
This is the one on my phone, yes.
Wow, the delusion of reality in that is so kind of cool, right?
Yeah, you need to watch House of Cards. Like, it's one of those, like...
But people say that about Game of Thrones. And
House of Cards is better. It's a lot better.
Throwing down the gauntlet. Bam!
It just is. Well,
I like Kevin Spacey, too, so he might get me to do it.
Yeah. Well, it was... If I remember right, it was originally supposed to be a Showtime show. And Netflix came in at the last second, outbid them for it.
That's not what I heard. I heard Netflix developed it because of their marketing, not marketing, but their research team looked at people that had highly rated Kevin Spacey shows, also highly rated political dramas. So they took Kevin Spacey and made a political drama out of it. That's what I heard.
Well, maybe. But
anyway.
But no, they did. It was... Showtime had it locked up to be a Showtime show.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, and they went in and outbid them. And it's really cool because at Netflix, they dropped the entire season at once. Like, it's not week to week. Like, the moment it hits, you have all 13 episodes.
That's the new model.
It is the new model.
That's the new model.
And Netflix is saying they want to change the model to, instead of once a year, to be like twice a year. So you're getting 2 seasons a year instead of 1.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and their shows, like, have you watched any of the Netflix originals? I know you don't have a lot of time, but...
No. What are that, like, The Orange is the New Black or House of Cards?
Is very good.
No.
If you want just to see a whole shit ton of titties, it's Orange is the New Black.
Really?
Well, it's a women's prison.
I do like titties.
Who doesn't?
I'll throw that out there. We all do.
Everyone loves titties.
Even
straight
girls
men
like
love titties. Straight girls love titties. Gay men love titties. Everyone loves titties.
Gay girls love titties. Titties are for all.
It's something I talked about. Like, I talk about with my wife, and I was like, I can understand why a woman would be gay. I can. Because, like, the female body is beautiful. Everyone understands that. Even gay men are like, yeah, you know what? She looks nice.
Even straight girls.
Even straight girls.
That's why they get so jealous and mad. It's like, damn, she's got a rocking body. There's something about it, right? Yeah.
But you know what? maybe it's even my
You're
wife.
not wired that way, right?
Well, no, but even my wife will say this. She's like, the penis, it does wonderful work, but it's not good to look at.
Men in general are not necessarily attractive. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we have just random patches of hair and things, and women
These
are all
muscles.
smooth and round.
Yeah, and they've got the right shape. Our shape isn't right. Yeah,
Women just win.
Especially in the beauty department, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the reason I don't understand. I don't understand straight gay men. Like, I can understand bi men that like other men occasionally, or that like to have, orgies where they get to play with men. But the idea that you would exclude yourself from women completely makes zero sense to me. Like, what? They're too beautiful and too well designed for what they function. What you're intending to do is best done with a woman. I don't know. If you just enjoy sex, right? Like, if it's just about the sex, that's why you don't just get blowjobs.
Right.
Because, the blowjobs are amazing. They're awesome, but there's a better... Even if your chick's down for anal, you'll still not do anal most of the time.
Oh, yeah, it's just... it's fun, but it's dirty. Like, you
it's a
gotta
novelty.
shower afterwards.
Yeah, it's a novelty. And
Okay,
it's not even as good feeling as, the properly designed hole. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Okay, so that leads us to an interesting question. Who is your if you could pick any female celebrity to have, who is it? Who is your if you're gonna have to go gay for one male, who you taking?
Oh, well. I always had a thing for Brad Pitt, actually. Right? From Fight Club.
Brad Pitt from Fight Club.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good-looking, awesome dude, and I bet he's the kind of guy that'll get drunk on scotch and smoke a joint before you do it, too. You know what I mean? Like, he seems like a kind of a fun guy. So, yeah, I'd have to... Who's yours?
Well, but you didn't answer the girl question.
What? Oh, I have to pick a girl, too?
Yeah, like any female, celebrity, whatever.
Wait, did I just say a guy when I had the option for a girl?
No, it's both. It's both.
Oh, I have. Okay, I was like, whoa, did I come off as just completely gay there? See, the girl one's a lot more difficult because I would like to do a lot of them. Is that chick from Harry Potter old enough?
Oh yeah, she's Emma Stone.
Yeah, that
Watson. Emma Watson, not Emma Stone.
Yeah,
there's an Emma Stone, but
she's gotten pretty nowadays.
Yeah, she got the super short pixie cut, which is all the rage.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, I like the younger ones. I wouldn't choose any of the women that I thought were hot when I was younger. Like when I was younger, I would have chose Drew Barrymore or Lucy Liu. But now that they're older,
she's still hot.
She's still hot, but she's too much of a woman in my eyes for me. You know what I mean? I still have that weird I don't know. I don't like MILFs and women. I like somebody my age or younger.
If I was gonna do just one.
No, you have to pick the male and the female.
Well, no. There are many women, and it's kind of funny. This is one reason I love my wife, because we will talk about this. We have the list of women that if they ask, we're having the three-way. We already have that list established.
Okay, I like how you function.
But if I have to go with one of them, Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway. What did she play in, or what did she do? How would I know?
She was Catwoman in the most recent in Dark Knight Rises.
I didn't see it. But Google knows. Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
She's just classically beautiful.
Like Liv Tyler was.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's beautiful. Is she the chick that played in what was that TV show that was kind of cheesy but it was really good about the fairy tales? Once Upon a Time?
No, she wasn't in that.
Well, the one that looks like her, she was pretty in that one too.
Mm-hmm. If I was gonna go for a guy, it'd be Matt Bomer.
Matt Bomer.
Yeah,
who's that? Which one?
I just sent you the link.
Okay. Yeah, he's gorgeous.
You should. Oh, and
what is he playing? Why does he look familiar?
He's in White Collar. He's also in Magic Mike. Have you seen White Collar?
Good looking. No, I haven't.
Oh, I think you would really like White Collar. Do you
Okay.
remember the movie Catch Me If You Can, Leonardo DiCaprio?
Yeah, it's a great
At the
movie.
very end, where he starts working with the FBI.
Okay.
So he's the con man who starts working with the FBI. Well, White Collar is that.
Oh.
And he's run his own side cons, and it's pretty good.
Yeah, I guess he would, wouldn't he?
If you read the internet about Matt Bomber, it was like the day he came out as gay, like so many women just like lost, like became so very sad.
Oh, he's gay.
He is gay. Yes, he's very.
Oh, that's a way better choice. That means he's good at it. I don't think Brad Pitt's necessarily gay.
No,
I had a pen.
If I could look like anyone, it would be Brad Pitt from Fight Club. Like if I could look like that, I would do it. Like
yeah, right. Like, I like his fashion, the haircut, the physique,
the fucking abs. And he's because we're both tall, skinny guys, and I don't want to be like Captain America or Thor. Like I don't want to be like those guys. No. I want to be like that strong, wiry.
MMA, yeah, real lean down, solid, yeah.
I'm not a big MMA person. I personally think it's mostly stupid, but
really,
yeah, I'm not a fan.
Why?
Not a fan. I'm just not a fan.
In what way? If you don't enjoy watching it, but why does that mean it's stupid?
Because it's supposed to be mixed martial arts, and it's not really. Like I really like the original MMA, like Ultimate Fighting stuff, because it was true like Hapkido versus Jiu-Jitsu, and now it's just sort of like it devolved down to this grappling style, which just isn't cool. I would love to see like the best karate versus the best jiu-jitsu. I think that'd be amazing.
Right, but instead of that, we've had enough generations now where it's a good stand-up game versus a decent ground game versus a takedown defense.
Yeah, and you really can't
it's no
see
longer
the styles.
It's no longer taekwondo versus jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Everybody's got a black belt in jiu-jitsu or at least a blue belt and a black belt in stand-up, and they've practiced boxing and they're, okay.
Yeah. But
I guess, but it's still fun to watch. I mean, as far as fighting goes, it is probably the best version of fighting.
Right now, I mean, especially for long-term health. I mean, they don't beat the shit out of each other like boxers do.
Well, okay, yeah. But they still, like, shin the shit out of each other. You still can't get head kicked to oblivion.
Right, but there's this phenomenon, which has been
where concussions on top of concussions are significantly more damaging.
The less pain you feel equates to more damage inflicted to the other person, and that's why like MMA is not, while it's not as hard long term on the body as boxing is, because their hands aren't boxing gloves. I mean, have you ever hit someone with a boxing glove on?
Yeah, it's like pillows.
Yeah, you can't feel anything. And so you can just swing as hard as you want. But with those little MMA gloves, or like you barehanded, if you hit someone too hard, you're breaking your hand.
Your hand hurts.
So there is a level of self regulation.
Yeah.
That is present in MMA that is not present in the current day of boxing. Which I think this year we're going to see the last great boxing match.
I don't know. Have you seen that new kid out of China?
But I don't think there's going to be anyone to match him.
Oh, well. Okay.
Because we're getting Mayweather, Pacquiao, finally. The last two great boxers. I've heard that Mayweather is going to walk away with $250 million, no win or lose.
God damn it.
But like I said, it's a lot, because like boxing used to be this great sport. I mean, it was called the sweet science for a reason. But now, especially after everyone realized what happened with the concussions and stuff, no one lets their kids box anymore. Because it used to be a thing. Like, there used to be Pee-wee boxing. It was Golden Gloves.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. It was like, especially up in the Northeast, like, Golden Gloves was this is like just as ubiquitous as Little League Baseball was.
So did you see the MMA fight? The title bout between Ronda Rousey and the other chick?
Like 14 seconds or...
Yeah, did you watch it?
It's
you can get it in one GIF. I can find it for you like real quick. But what do you think of that?
I mean, that's impressive. But it's also
kind of ridiculous, you know.
I just kind of feel bad for the people who went there or who paid for it, you know, pay-per-view, because those things aren't cheap.
No, they're like $50.
Yeah. So you get all the way to the title card and it's over.
Just like that, before it even starts.
Before it even starts.
Yeah, let me see if I can't find it. What else was I gonna say? I can't remember. What were we talking about right before the Ronda Rousey thing? We were talking about boxing.
Concussions. Sweet science.
Oh well, I don't remember. Can't find the GIF either. But anyway, that's because not very good at this search thing on fucking Reddit.
Yeah, one thing I will recommend, and this is kind of off topic, but something I remembered I want to talk about. Have you ever seen any of the 30 for 30s? The ESPN documentaries?
No, I haven't.
They're all on Netflix, and they're all really good. But
oh yeah,
being the people we are, you need to watch the one on Matt Hoffman.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's called The Birth of Big Air, and it is so good. It's so good. It like gives me chill bumps every time I watch it, because like just how revolutionary he was, and the fact he's from my home state. Well, one of my two states that I call home.
I thought he was from both of them.
Well, he's Oklahoman, born and bred. He's from,
okay.
Like, there was one point in my life where I was living like 3 miles away from Matt Hoffman.
No shit.
Yeah. The Condor.
The Condor, yeah, no, yeah, he was. Yeah, I loved Matt Hoffman. He was definitely one of the people I looked up to when I was younger. Him and Tony Hawk.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. And this thing, like, I guess, was the pragmaticness of us all. God, this girl's a beast.
Yeah, are you watching that link?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Ronda Rousey one. It'll be in the show notes. It's 14 seconds. It's enough that you can just put it in one GIF. You don't even have to put it in a video.
Yeah, that's insane. Okay, so a movie that isn't Fight Club, because I'm pretty sure that's the answer. What's the one movie that you're just like had just that crazy impact on you? Like you watched, you're like, yes.
You know what? This might be a weak answer, but or maybe not quite exactly what you're asking. But one of the movies that affected me for the longest has been The Truman Show. I find myself all the time wondering whether I'm in a TV show or not.
It's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
I watched that not too long ago. It's a good one.
But the one that really got me, that when I came out of the theater, I was like, holy shit, was The Matrix. Other than, Fight Club, I was just like, damn, I really wanted to rewatch it and try to figure out what was going on, or whether that could even be a reality that we were existing in. You know what I mean? Because there's a part of you that has that feeling when Morpheus gives him the speech of like, that there's something wrong. You can't explain it. You can't tell but there's always been a part of you that just knows, like a splinter in your side. And it's like, I know what you're talking about, Morpheus. I know. And
mine for me is probably Watchmen.
Watchmen, that was the one where you took like superheroes and turned them into what it would be like in real life. Yeah, like how gory in reality, how real and violent that comic book really is.
You need to watch it. Like if you haven't
seen it,
I've
seen it. Yeah, I was blown away when.
It's one of those movies, like it's 2.5 hours, 2 hours 45, and it doesn't feel that long at all. But like I just so connected with Rorschach, the whole like no, you cannot do this. Like at the end when they're realizing that, like, yeah, he kind of has to set, like, he has to make Manhattan the villain and, you know, set off the bomb. He's like, no, people cannot die, and all, like, just this visceral. Like I don't want to see myself as a lawful good, but at best I'm a chaotic good. But I'm pretty much like I'm a white in magic. I mean that's pretty much
right.
It was just like that moment was so pure and so sound. It was just like, oh yes, righteousness to the bitter end.
Did you make a reference to Magic the Gathering and being white and lawful in order?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
so if you're white, I'm blue.
Oh,
you're a white mage?
That makes sense.
You're a white mage? I'm a blue mage, for sure. And if I can't be blue, I'm red.
Let's
just burn the whole fucking planet down.
Yeah. Have you listened to Mark Rosewire's podcast on the colors?
Is it good?
Oh yeah, well, you mean you being a Magic guy, you should listen to him because he has this podcast that he records on his drive to work every day.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And he talks about all sorts of stuff, and a lot of it's really mechanical stuff.
Right. Design ideas.
So it's really good. I'd highly recommend it.
Yep, I'm blue, which is all about
control and. So understanding and
right, mysticism and knowledge is power kind of ideas. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, let's maybe get one more in here and wrap it up. It's almost midnight here on the East Coast.
Yep, that's it. I got one more anyway.
All right.
And it just happened to work out where I couldn't fit it in any otherwise, so it's going to be an interesting question to end it off with, but why not? What's the most controversial thing you believe in?
Besides the fact that there may be a God?
Well, I think that's a pretty good one. I think that one, which we already kind of discussed earlier, I guess.
Yeah.
But mine was either a belief in the spirit world, like in more realities than the one that's present, more than the one that we can experience. Like there's several layers. There could be infinite layers, right?
Right.
So it's either that's pretty controversial. Like that's a pretty dividing line.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't make a choice either way. I just kind of believe what I believe and I don't get in that argument. Or gay rights. That's a real dividing factor in this, I believe that people should be allowed to be gay if they want. And depending on who you talk to, there's a real,
Well, see, I have
controversial.
I've never heard anyone else espouse this belief on gay rights. Here's my belief on gay rights, or rights sort of in general, that I do not believe that the federal government has the right to define marriage, period. It does not have the right to tax us or anything else on the terms of marriage or anything else, that they only have the right to treat us as individuals.
Here.
And so that is my belief, and I can fucking go to the Constitution with you if you want to, because I know that shit backwards and forwards. And they do not have the right to do what they do. And I always
mean it's not okay to get married as a gay person, or it's not okay to say they can't?
They cannot define marriage. Marriage is not something that the government has the power to talk about.
Okay.
It's not.
I'm perfect,
they don't.
Yeah. Right, but that's a controversial subject.
Right. Because
we could definitely talk about this on Twitter. Like, this is something that somebody might want to talk to you about. Email you.
Right. Like, but the thing is like,
if you want to talk to Jacob about this, the email is the best way to get a hold of him.
Yes. But my idea is that the married filing jointly tax bracket is truly unconstitutional.
That shouldn't exist.
It shouldn't exist.
I'm fine with that too. But what about the other parts that gay rights matter?
Well,
about, final rights, about when people die, or about visitation rights at hospitals, or insurance rights, or claiming disability rights, or Social Security.
Okay, if that whole married, if that whole, because that marriage is a legal entity.
contract.
It's basically like forming a company.
Right.
And in the eyes of the law, that's basically what happens.
Okay.
I do not believe that is legal. I do not believe any form of that is legal in the United States if you go to the Constitution. And so if you were to dissolve all of that, all those other issues would disappear. That you cannot treat people like, basically, no one has the right unless you explicitly give them the right. You know, or you actually enter into a binding contract with someone else, like, you know, civil unions. So you can enter into a contract to say this person is the beneficiary of everything, has all these rights for me. You can say that. But the government does not have the right to say that for you and for whom that applies.
Or to sanctify it, or whatever you want to say.
Right.
Like to verify it, essentially, right? They don't have to. Okay.
Correct. The government does not have that right, in my opinion, and my.
So is it okay for you if
reading,
like 2 guys and 2 girls get married? Like if they.
And if they want to enter into, if they want to form their own company, look, we're going to use the
civil company is we're going to use that word.
If they want to form their own company, go for it.
But there shouldn't be any tax incentive to do it.
Correct. Perverse incentives.
Right, but collecting benefits as a spouse from your insurance policies.
If there's a beneficiary out, I mean, benefits from insurance is, I mean, you can name anyone as a beneficiary.
Okay.
I mean, and so it's just
well, I like your version. We should make you president.
Yeah, I mean, shit. I can
president,
run in 4 years.
Jacob for president in 4 years.
I've thought about it.
You may want to stop this podcast.
Hey, this podcast would get me elected, motherfuckers.
That's right. In 4 years, who knows? We'll keep this together. Yeah, that's it. That's what we're doing. We're running this podcast so we can get Jacob elected. Jacob in 2020, right?
Yeah, in 2020, I'd be the youngest president in history.
Jacob 2020.
Because you have to be 35 to run.
I like the idea of that. Well, we can start grassrooting it, right now. We can get the idea started.
By the time this rolls around, we're going to have 4 years from now, have 15 million fans.
Or maybe 5. I'd be happy with 5. Like if we could just get more than the 3 that we have now.
Please email us. Hit the subscribe button, something.
Yeah, check us out on, Twitter or Facebook,
be honest,
or email.
If y'all like it enough and we could do it, we would do this every day.
Every day.
If it was worth the time and effort and money, we would do it every day.
And we would also produce, YouTube channel, videos
Let's
and
plays
content
and all sorts of shit. So
if you want to talk about that, I would love for us to do vacations, 42 podcast adventures. Where we just do ridiculous, like we go ziplining through, the Amazon, and we go, whitewater rafting, and we go snowboarding, and we go. I don't really want to jump out of an airplane, but if enough people want to see it, we'll do it, and we'll put that on YouTube, Like I think that would be. Well, I think we need to do that. We also need to start a Twitch stream. We also need to start a YouTube. You've got the Dota going. I'm getting my OBS running, so we can start there.
Right. I think
I'd like to make this a whole empire. What?
Wizard World, which is a traveling Comic-Con, is coming to Pittsburgh, and you need to come up before then. If nothing else, you need to come up for Wizard World, and we'll do a live podcast, in the same room together.
Okay.
And go to Wizard World, have some fun.
Put some video up on YouTube from it, some vlogs.
Straight, yeah.
All right, yeah, I'd like to do this. Yeah.
All right, ladies and gents, I think that is wrapping up for us tonight. I hope you enjoyed your visit to 42. As much as we did.
To the restaurant at the end of the universe.
Yes. And here's to all those humans and the late great human race. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to 42, the latest and greatest club from the restaurant at the end of the universe, where we have, as always, our good friend Ryan. Ryan, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Did you know there's 492 billionaires in this world, and not one of them is Batman? Well, not yet anyway.
There's no telling.
If you were a billionaire, would you try to be some vigilante Batman-like character?
too hard. I'm too old.
I'm too old.
I mean, he was what, like, studying martial arts and all that stuff his entire life to be that good.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
You know, and plus I just don't have the motivation.
Right, like when he comes back from when he got his back broke, like when he finally gets out of rehab or whatever, he can run a 4-minute mile still.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, damn, go Batman.
And before I forget, I would like to thank I Fight Dragons for letting us use their song for our intro.
Hell yeah. Thank you, I Fight Dragons.
Yes, some wonderful nerd rock. It's really like pop punk meets like synth nerd rock. It's really fun if you haven't listened to it. Yeah, I really enjoy their stuff, and I'm happy that they agreed to let us use their stuff.
Yeah, you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours.
Yeah. To like the 3 people that actually listen to our podcast.
No, that's not true. I think our last one had 7 downloads.
Hey, well, not shockingly, the one with
porn in the title.
Porn in the title has like 4 times as many views.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys.
Cheers.
So anyway, we're gonna have to I guess go ahead and rejoice. There's a few cool things that happened this week, right?
Okay.
So the FCC approves net neutrality rules.
Right, which
reclassifies broadband as a utility.
Right, which I'm cautiously optimistic about. Very cautiously optimistic.
Right, because we haven't read what they actually wrote down yet. Like, where are the loopholes and where do we get? Like, how do we get fucked in this deal? But
right, and I mean, it's the same people that do the NSA bullshit. So I mean,
yeah,
it's so if it's actually good, I like it, but I just worry that it's going to be one of those things that eventually go full on Atlas Shrugged, and it's government. It's just a way for government to take it over. So I worry about that, but. Like I said, cautiously optimistic. I'll have a much better opinion once I actually see the ruling. And I mean, it's not going to be a thing for 4 or 5 years because it's going to be challenged in the courts forever. It'll go to the Supreme Court, which is the worst place in the entire fucking world for any tech case to go to.
Yeah, it's really weird that the Republicans have aligned themselves kind of against the internet, I guess, as a whole. There's no other better way to say it, really, but they're more for the.
I feel as though the net neutrality thing is the way they're doing it feels wrong to me, classifying as a utility, because there's so much government regulation and government taxes that come into that. I mean, if you look at your phone bill, I don't know if anyone still has a landline. Well, hell, even your cell bill, which is classified as a utility. There's tons of government taxes, so I think you're going to see a lot more of that.
Right, but what this really I guess since we're just going to mark this down as one optimistically approval. It's like,
yes, I'm optimistic, but I'm scared.
Okay, so the other thing to celebrate is, I don't know. This doesn't matter much to you, but it does kind of. You pay attention to it, but Alaska and Washington D.C. it's now legal.
Right, that's all.
Marijuana is now, and Alaska is working on recreational, being able to sell it and tax it, and the Colorado model or maybe the Washington model. I'm not sure which one they're going to use, but Washington D.C. it is not legal to sell or buy, but it is legal to gift. Much like sex.
Interesting.
Much like sex.
DC, that whole entity that is DC is such a weird thing to me.
Yeah.
It's technically federal property. So technically, a speeding ticket in Washington, D.C. is a felony.
It doesn't go on your record like a felony, though, does
it? Like, it's a felony speeding ticket. Because it happens on federal land. Yeah, it's really weird. And, like, the way their budget works is really weird. And no state will have them. Like, they've been trying, like, DC's been trying to become a part of Virginia for decades now. And Virginia's like, no, I'm not dealing with that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like if
What?
you ever get caught speeding like on a military base, it's a felony.
You say felony like a felony, like you can't vote no more, like I'm a felon?
Yes.
Like I can't, I'm like, what the fuck? That's crazy. I can't believe that. That's, well, I mean, I can believe it, but that's just awesome, I guess, or
Yeah,
crazy.
well, maybe not like that bad because certain felons
It's
can still
extremes.
vote, but
Oh, they can?
yeah.
I don't know anything about these things.
Yeah, but sad things happen this week too. You know,
Oh, well, let's not talk about those yet then.
Mr.
What happened?
Nimoy
Oh,
died.
that's right. Yeah. Man, did you see the picture from the guy from the International Space Station?
Yeah,
Yeah, live long and prosper, right?
live long
Yeah.
and prosper.
He's on the International Space Station, and it's the picture of the Earth, and he's got his hand up, and he took a picture of his hand and then the Earth through the window, and that was out of all the pictures attributed to Leonard Nimoy or Spock. You know, that's what we're talking about. Out of all of them, that was the one that I was like, oh, just got some. I was cutting onions or something earlier, or something. That one got me actually.
Right. Yeah. It's. I was thinking about it after it happened. Is like nerd culture, especially, has been the culture of living legends. The people who made our culture great have been with us for the most part.
Right. What's that name? The guy, Marvel guy, Spike Lee or whatever his name is?
Stan Lee, still
Stan
around.
Lee. Yeah, Spike Lee. What the fuck? That's the director.
That's the director.
I'm an idiot.
A lot, William Shatner, and up until this week, learning lots of the big names that made Harrison Ford, George Lucas, Mark Hamill. They're living legends, and it's interesting because we're getting to that age to where a lot of those people are going to start, leaving us, and it'll be interesting to see how the things react when the people who were there and did it aren't there to defend or to
when it's now story.
Give proper context to what actually happened, and it falls into the hands of historians and not the actual people.
Wow, that will be crazy. Like the first interracial kiss on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like it won't be William Shatner and what's her name talking about it. It'll be other people talking about what it meant.
Right. And
then it'll be interpreted and it boils down to like for the everyday citizen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is this breaks up the monopolies and allows companies access to the telephone poles. Right. Like this is the biggest deal, is the access to the telephone poles. So now potentially Google can run out Google Fiber really easily. It was what was holding back Google Fiber is they didn't have access to the telephone poles.
Right. It's the last mile problem, which is the problem with almost all internet. It's last mile. Right.
So now that's what this boils down to. And that's, if I have to pay, I'm okay with paying an extra $50 a month or whatever in taxes if I can have my gigabit internet. Like we need to catch up with the rest of the world.
Like I said, like it's just one of those things where, like I said, I'm very cautiously optimistic. I like the idea.
Yeah.
I just when I need to see the product first before I'm like, yay, net neutrality, it's a good thing, because. I mean, as much as those guys in Washington fuck us over every year, I'm just like, yep, this is just going to be a play to censor. Like to me, this is just like, yep, they're going to qualify as a utility, and then they're going to go, well, it's this is inappropriate for a public utility, so we're shutting it down. That's what I'm worried about.
Like the Pornhubs and stuff, like that kind of thing, they can just censor.
No, they won't do porn. Porn isn't. To the political elite, porn isn't offensive.
So it's like the
InfoWars or Drudge or
the Islamic State kind of stuff. Like
right, yeah.
They'll shut down Twitter accounts or something. That kind of idea.
That's what I.
Or maybe just Twitter in general. It's too easy to disseminate information on this website.
Right, and I worry about the impact of. Oh, I just lost my train of thought.
So you're thinking...
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask you. So you're kind of worried about the freedom of the internet.
Yes.
In a weird way.
Yes, I am very worried about that. I also... This is going to be, for as long as it's a thing, it's going to be a political issue every year, and I don't want to hear about it. It's going to be a major issue. And the moment that it someone does anything, because someone will. Some president, I don't know who, Republican, Democrat, really doesn't matter. Somebody's going to try to get a little too much power over the internet. It's just going to happen. It's the way humans react and the way they are. So, this actually needs to be a constitutional amendment, is what it needs to be, and not an FCC.
Like the internet should be a right?
Yes, like voting is a right, like right to bear arms,
right to assembly. This should fall under the right of assembly or something.
Actually, I think that's a very good place for it to be, is the right to assemble.
Right. This is a virtual assembly.
But the thing is like those regulations are so easy to change, and so it comes down to like who's the FCC chairman, because the president can pretty much just kick that fucker out if he wants to, and it doesn't matter who the president is. And so it would be like when Roosevelt stacked the Supreme Court, and
it's not stacked right now.
But they, and they just rubber stamped everything, and so I don't know. Like I said, I'm hopeful, but I don't know. I've seen them screw people over way too many times to think.
I don't trust anybody on the Hill. But
watch Batman and Robin. It's still fucking terrible, but it's one of those things that's so bad it's kind of funny. Like,
it doesn't quite make it to so bad that it's funny. It's just kind of really shit. There's like a frequency, so it has to be like so bad. There's at a point where it's just bad. It's just bad, and then once it gets so bad that it gets funny and fun to watch, but then you can go past funny and fun to watch and just get bad again, and then you have to really push for that really funny. And if you can get to that third valley of funny, now you're in like Roadhouse territory, where it's just really awesomely bad.
The one thing I did notice about it is because it was really before CG. Like, it was right before CG really started to come into every movie. So
right.
Everything was built. Like, they were real sets, real props, and it just looked better. Like, it looked better than it should for a movie that came out in like 2000 or whenever it came out.
Well, that could be the Blu-ray upscaling too, though, right? Like, they went back and remastered it or something, or no?
No. Like, even if you watch Blu-rays, like, the early CG looks terrible now. Like, I went back and watched Independence Day, and like some of the early, like some of that CG is terrible. I mean, it's so dodgy. But like the actual props, like the movies that are old enough to still have props and sound, and actual stages and
or miniatures.
Or minis, they will still look amazing. Like, have you watched Indiana Jones on Blu-ray?
I don't want to admit this out loud, but I've never watched a Blu-ray.
Dude, you're missing out.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not me.
You're missing out.
I went straight from DVDs to digital. Skipped the whole Blu-ray thing.
Okay.
Because it took them so long to fucking decide on the HD Blu-ray fucking bullshit, and I was on HD DVD side. And when they didn't win, I was disappointed. So,
have you ever watched it in 1080p?
No.
Okay, it's one of the most beautiful, especially the Last Crusade. One with Sean Connery. It is gorgeous. It is one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, especially, but everything is real. It was old. It's an old enough movie that everything had to be real. If people were flying, they were on white. It was real. It was real special effects. It wasn't digital special effects, and
right.
That translates so much better. And so there's
when
a
it gets
weird
polished
gap in like from like 98 to like I don't know about 2008 to where CG and movies get really good. That like just look terrible on Blu-ray. Just absolutely look terrible.
Yeah. I heard Alien looks terrible because when it's upscaled so well, you can see the background, like the miniature space planes, the spaceships. And in the original movie, that's just a painting or whatever it is, and it's kind of blurry and no big deal. But when it run through the upscaling of an HD and they go in and like clean it all up and remaster it, it's so clean that it just looks like a painting. Like it doesn't look, it's just like you can see that it's a painting. There was something enjoyable about the graininess of it. It kind of helped with the the movie
you
itself.
Could get away with more, yeah.
Right, the movie felt more gritty because of it.
Right, that's something. My first year at Comic-Con, we went to the Star Trek Blu-ray restoration panel. So the people who like actually built the like redid it, remastered, did everything, and they were telling us about how difficult it was to actually do it, because like some of the shots in Next Generation were 7 or there's no telling what'll mean in 50 years.
Yeah, that's true. That's interesting. You know, I know he was dying, and that, you know, dying's not the greatest thing in the world and all that. But somebody's so special, and to see all the tribute that he gets after he dies, isn't there a part of you that wishes like somebody that was handling his Twitter or his like estate would have been like, he died like a day before he did? Just so you could get a little bit of that. You're like, oh wow, they really did love me. You know, that because there's a part of me that's sad that he didn't get to see the tribute. It's like he kind of probably knew, but he didn't actually get to see it. It's like being at your own funeral. It's like, you know, Leonard Nimoy is one of the few people that should have the privilege to be at his own funeral. You know, it's like Shatner. You hope Shatner gets to be kind of at his own funeral. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, because it's going to be a good one. Like, we're going to, you know, he was famous before he died. And for an artist to be that famous before he dies, you know, your legacy usually only gets better.
Right. Yeah. Me and my wife were talking about it, like what the Comic-Con after Stan Lee dies, like that's going to be. Oh yeah. That's basically going to be a 4-day funeral. Is basically what's going to be.
That will. Yeah.
And I mean,
how old is he? He's getting there, right? I mean,
he's in his 90s.
All due respect, we love you, Stanley. But still, I mean, he's getting older, right?
I mean, that dude's awesome. The little I've seen about him.
Yeah. Is he cool?
With him, yeah. He's still like as spry as any 20-year-old, you know, mentally has ever been. Like that dude is just
really.
Yeah, he is sharp.
No shit. Still has a sense of humor, kind of.
Oh yeah.
A guy. Huh?
And maybe it's because he does.
He uses it all the time, right?
He uses it all the time, you know.
I like on the kid things.
Kid things, yeah, you know.
Yeah, fuck that, kid things. Whatever.
Well, I mean, when he first started writing comics, they were kid things. But his idea was he was the Pixar before Pixar. He's like, no one can say no to a good story. If it's a good story, it'll sell. No matter if it's G-rated or R-rated, if it's a good story with characters you like, with real consequences, people are really going to like the story. And
that's completely my belief on anime. It's like anime can be really, really good if, you know, the story and the characters and the stuff is compelling and you really want to watch it. Like, I don't know. I think some of the best stories ever told have been told through the anime, you know, medium.
Oh, yeah.
Or the comic book style. Like, if you've never read Spawn, go back and read
Spawn's amazing.
Read the original Spawn series, the comic book. Oh my god, man, that one's. I saw that on Reddit recently. They were like, "Bring back Spawn," because they were talking about all these movies that are being remade. It's like, why can't we get a remake of Spawn?
Oh yeah, I actually really liked the Spawn movie. It was kind of terrible, but I still really like it.
I really liked the original Batman movies, but the new ones are still awesome as fuck, you know? Like, so why can't we get a new awesome Spawn? Could you imagine with the new graphics and the new CGI and the new the great acting and the directors that we have nowadays? We could get a fucking awesome Spawn movie.
So I've been ripping my Blu-rays to my media center, and at Best Buy, I think it was, we picked up the first 4 Batmans, the 2 Tim Burtons, so Batman Returns, and then Batman Forever and Batman and Robin in like one Blu-ray pack for like $10. It was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So I sat down to rewatch